or glass. Perhaps you have a tankard, chalice, or a stein, maybe a canteen, jug, or flask, a vessel of any kind. You fill it with your favorite fluid. That's right, it's my morning energy drink. It's called a Monster. That's right. Deliciously, magnificently corpo made and Tango prepared. So if you would please join me now, friends, in the gloriousness, that stupendosity, the
absolute awesome sauceness that is the simultaneous sip.
And it's happening right freaking now. Go! That's the good shit. Amazing Barrel, greetings and salutations, my good sir. Cheers. Pow. If you're gonna do a sip, you might as well make it a double, you know what I'm saying? How you doing this morning, dude? Hope you are well, sir. Hope you are. I gotta make sure to look at this side. I moved the camera for the reading so that you could see me directly because of the fucking things on my eyes. I think I need to move it a little bit closer. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. I had not slept today. Uh-oh, that's not good. Well, hopefully the ruminations of my amazingly soothing voice, as well as the absolute verbosity that Jordan Peterson brings to this, will set you right. Indubitably. All right, so didn't we stop at chapter? Yes, we did. Noah and God as a call to prepare. I believe we stopped on this page. As you can see, the amazing artwork's pretty good. The Genesis one was pretty good too. See if I can find it. Be dumb here. Might as well show them all off. I don't think I've shown any but that one. Yeah, Cain and Abel. I'm pretty sure this is like art from the Renaissance. Pretty sure. Ugh, like famous paintings, I mean. I.e. famous paintings. He says while having the fidelity of a chainsaw. I figured out what it was. It's the firmware for my mic. It no longer recognizes itself as the mic that it is. Oh, Adam and Eve self-pride. I mean, I'm gonna say this, Amazing Barrel. Thank you for bringing it up because now it makes me not want to stream anymore. Because I know I sound like ass. And then Genesis. In the beginning. It's pretty cool. And I think that's all the artwork there is. Yeah, that's it. All right, you ready? Here we go. Noah, God as the call to prepare. Giants in the land. Wait, did we start this? Maybe we did. Whatever. We're going to start over. After Abel dies and Cain departs from the vagabond land of Nod, Adam and Eve find themselves blessed with another son. Yes, we actually did. That son is Set, whom tradition regards as both a replacement for Abel and the ancestor of all who conduct themselves and sacrifice properly. And Adam again had relations with his wife, and she gave birth to a son and named him Set, saying, God has granted me another seed in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. Genesis 4:25. Various commentators have included the following in their centuries of study. Set was appointed because he was appointed by God to be the father of the righteous and to replace Abel, whom Cain had killed. It is well known that Jesus was of the line of David, who is descended of Set. This means as well that the messianic line was established through Set and not through Cain. Among other things, these conclusions indicate that the pattern of attention and value established by the typified by Abel did not die with him, and more generally cannot die. And that the same pattern, in some manner, was not only immediately reestablished, but characterizes both King David and Christ himself. This idea is echoed highly evocative Excuse me. This idea is echoed in the highly evocative and image-laden manner typical of the biblical corpus. Particularly of the very old stories. In a phrase that otherwise appears mysterious and opaque, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare to them children, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. Ah, yes, this talks about all the way to the ancient worship. I think we stopped at 4.2. That's okay. Abraham and Isaac also come to mind. Fair enough. These lines have spawned speculation far beyond the ordinary sort. The Nephilim, these giants, have been considered honorable robbers, lawless gallants, mighty men, unique in size, even fallen angels. The simplest explanation, anthropologically and psychologically, is that what is remembered across time is not so much the specific empirical details of a given life, no matter how notable, but the abstract pattern of what is notable in general about life. Thus, in collective memory, the exploits, even the essence of the ancestor, becomes a purified amalgam of all that grips attention and compels mimicry. In the heroic or anti-heroic sense, as a villain is as good a lesson as a leading man. The efforts of the ancient Romans to deify their emperors is a well-known manifestation of the same tendency. The same process is undertaken today among authors of fiction who abstract out from many characters in their imaginations a central pattern or spirit of character that is maximally compelling and memorable. Excuse me. When a person departs and is, say, eulogized, the most memorable of their exploits are brought to mind and communicated. In a culture dependent on the oral tradition of transformation in a culture dependent on the oral transmission of information, multi-generationality, and ancestors' most memorable qualities are going to become conflated in collective memory. Especially after all those who actually remember a given person shuffle off this mortal coil. The stories, however, can live on, but in compressed and purified form, with the attendant characters living as active entities in imagination. The pattern of the ancestral heroes inevitably emerges and tilts with time toward virtual or actual deification. As some dude bro as some dude bro points out, the passage, because I can't pronounce his name, the passage from ancestor worship to theism occurs when ancestor is divinized. That is, when he is transformed into a god. This transformation is made possible by the discovery of the sacred, or rather, by identification of a particular manifestation of the sacred with the ancestor. He says similarly and elsewhere, ancestor worship is one of the factors that favors the development of monotheism. In the course of time, the ancestors are more and more identified with the god, and finally God completely replaces the ancestors. Thus, history becomes fictionalized through fiction. Thus, history becomes fictionalized, although fiction is best regarded in such a context as the creation of abstract meta-truths rather than the antithesis of fact, and therefore of truth itself. Agreed. Yeah, I do agree with that. It's why you can say the Bible is true, but not that it is 100% factual. Like most other religious texts. Because most religious texts are actual amalgamations of human thought across time. From eons past. The life of an ordinary man, which cannot even in principle be remembered in its totality, is thus reduced to the best or worst of his exploits, to the gist or heart of the matter, and joins in spirit with the similar exploits of his peers and forefathers to become the veritable giants of the past. I discussed this yesterday about Jesus being the King of Kings. With time, therefore, kings become what is sovereign itself, or its antithesis. become the King of Kings, or the force that eternally opposes that supreme kingship. Noah, by the way, a force that eternally opposes that supreme kingship, look no further than fucking Zelda. How's that for you? What is his name? Fucking Ganondorf or whatever. I don't play Zelda off. I played like 3 back in the day. The point I'm trying to make is that in almost all the games, he is the antithesis of kingship itself and the rule of the benevolent dictator, as it were. That's okay. Funnily enough, neither am I. However, it is one of those things where Zelda is very right-wing coded through the vast majority of it, because it is, and by right-wing, I mean traditionally right-wing in the French liberal sense, as in on the right side of the aisle were the peerage and those who supported the monarchy, and on the left side of the aisle were the commoners who supported the common people over the monarchy. It has no correlation with what is right and left today. But traditionally, that's what it would be. And that's what Zelda actually, like, as much as people try to say it's like, it literally is monarchist, to restoring the monarchy. Every single one is about restoring the monarchy. Just like Mario Brothers, for instance. Let's see, where were we? Oh yeah, but it was about the Jesus being the King of Kings, right? It's like, when I first heard this idea that Jordan put forth about how, like, the Spirit of Christ, what it actually is, and its physical manifestation in our reality, is a collection of not just actions, but things that make an individual the best of the best of the best, right? Every man is an individual, but the best of men are elevated, and all the qualities that they have are elevated to that higher status. And then what happens is, just like we just read, you know, after, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of years, all of these things are amalgamated into a singular individual. Like, for instance, Hercules is a very interesting individual. I seriously doubt that Hercules, the man that they're actually talking about, did half the shit that he is said to have done. What more than likely happened is, it's like they did in the Rock movie, where it's like he kind of did those things, but it's a bit exaggerated, and because he was larger than life and yada, yada, yada. And then over time and over the centuries, even to the ancient Greeks who wrote about Hercules, and even the Romans who wrote about Heracles, not only did the deeds become more larger than life, but so did the virtues, right? It is, and so eventually all the heroes, all the virtues get stacked into one individual, and that's how you get a superhero. Like, for instance, what is Superman if not a modern day fucking form of Jesus, right? He has all of the same qualities about, you know, he doesn't kill people, he tries not to harm people, he's kind, he's virtuous, he is giving, you know, he is so strong he could break the back of the world, and yet he completely and utterly avoids all temptation of such. It is monarchist. I think left and right is a subpar choice of terms for the purpose of discussion, as you must anchor it in time and place each time. Correct. Which is why you can say in present day America, right and left is this. You know, you don't really have to, depending on the context you're talking in. Only if you're trying to make a historical record would you need to do that. Or if you're trying to explain the past, like I just did. So, correct. It is one of those things that literally most people don't even know about, let alone give a fuck about, or understand the philosophical underpinnings. It really blows my mind as to how many humans go about their lives and don't think at all about anything. It's one of the reasons why I'm becoming more and more aligned with the vision that the founding fathers of the United States of America had, in that we should not be giving the ability to vote to everyone. That was dumb, and we shouldn't do that. We really shouldn't have done that. Yeah. Like, because you got to think about it. Why is the Constitution the way it is? Why is it that you can't vote away people's rights? Well, because the founders recognized that not only could you have a tyrant who is a central authority figure, i.e., you know, basically what Lincoln did, where they take all of the government power to themselves, legislature, executive, judicial, the whole nine, and basically make them themselves the power. Conversely, you can have the people being tyrants, i.e., if enough people believe that we should have like this all-encompassing fucking security state where you have no rights, they could literally just vote for it. Technically, you can vote for that right now, actually. You can change the Constitution to make it that, but they did that so that it would require a supermajority, right? So over 75% of people in the United States, relatively speaking, maybe anywhere between 90 and 60, would have to agree somewhat with this thing to be able to push it through and to get it through Congress, to get it through the ratification process in the Constitution. This is one of the reasons why it requires the states themselves to ratify it too. Superman is originally a Moses allegory, a lost liberator of a suffering people sent away as a baby to prosper in a stranger's house. That's really cool, which is funny because he manifests as a man, as a more Christ-like figure. You know what I mean? Let's see. Fuck, that threw me off. I forgot where I was going with that. Anyway. Joker, what's up, baby? How you doing? Noah is one such giant, one such quasi-deified ancestral hero, a descendant of Set, the second Abel, a son of a fallen angel who walked the earth in those days, a man favored by God, like the pre-Lapsian Adam. Pre-Lapsarian, that's before the fall. A model for admiration and emulation, made even more memorable by the stark contrast between his attitude and behavior and that of his contemporaneous peers. He became more Christ-like. Granted, both are messianic figures. True. But I mean, just in general, by the way the story goes, even in his in the original form of Superman, he was still more Christ-like than Moses, right? Because the story in and of itself, he was sent away from his home. Sure, that's like Moses. However, when he becomes a man, he's not a prince that sees his people enslaved and therefore wants to see them freed. His people are fucking dead. So he has no real connection with them. And now he is a god among men, like someone else we know. And then now he has to choose what he's going to do about that. Now, granted, he is not, actually a piece of eternity and God and all that other shit like he is in Christianity, but allegories be allegorian. What's up, Wolf? Greetings, buddy. How you doing? Bless thy hand grenade, indeed. Let's see. We were going on the King of King things, right? With Jesus and everybody else. And see, I got into Hercules, and I'm trying to get back to where I was. So, yeah, all of the greatest bits of humanity, like I imagine that Hercules is not actually a real man. That there was a man who obviously there have been men named Hercules, most likely. And it's possible that in antiquity to the ancient Greeks that we would call ancient, He probably was. But it's more than likely that it was an amalgamation of men who did different things, and it was woven into the story to tell an allegorical tale about being a hero and what it takes and all the sacrifice that's required and all that. And so that's exactly like Jesus. So it's basically, oh yeah, that's what it was. It was like, this is what happens with superheroes. This is why I brought up Superman, is that eventually they start embodying, like, Superman is literally supposed to be like the best of man, right? He's, raised by a rural farm family, raised on all these, American values and virtues, and he turns out to be a literal fucking, naive farm boy, and he is good to the core and the whole fucking nine, right? And the reason I believe that this story resonates so well with so many people is because we recognize innately as humans that these qualities, that these things that these heroes do are good, and we want to emulate them. We like seeing heroes win. We like seeing villains lose. Kind of weird, honestly. And it's one of those things where you really have to be careful you don't start thinking too much. Oh, that's where it was. That's where it went. It was voting. That's what it was. Then I'm becoming more aligned with the way our founding fathers saw our republic, in the fact that we should limit we should limit suffrage to landowners and or people who sacrifice, like military members, police officers, maybe doctors, nurses, most likely. Anybody in like some kind of like life and death service industry. I could definitely see that, especially if you are a net taxpayer. But if you are a net, like for instance, I am not a net taxpayer. I am a receiver. That's just the way it is because I'm disabled. Does that mean I shouldn't have the right to vote? Well, I do own land. So, and I contribute, I've procreated, and I'm not disabled due to my own stupidity. I'm disabled because the military made me that way. So is it my own fault? If I had the choice between losing my vote and restricting other people's, I would probably take it. Even if I lost my own vote, even though I did join the military, even though I the reason I can't work and make enough money to be a not negative taxpayer, or the reason I can't work and I am a receiver instead of a giver is because of the thing that happened to me in the military. So, but if we could get pushed through the ability to restrict suffrage, but it means I would lose my vote. But things like you have to be bought into the system, property owners, military service, police officers, those things. Yeah. Because here's the thing. Everybody knows this is true. If we restricted suffrage, we would have a lot better quality candidates on every level. You know it. I know it. Even the retards know it. No one denies this. Unless you are so stupid you can't even tie your own shoes, right? We just all know that would be the case. Regardless of whether they're good or bad, regardless of whether they're incompetent or not, we would still have a much better quality of candidate. You wouldn't be having fucking Trump being president. That's for goddamn sure. Also, El Cid of Spain is based on a real historical noble, progressing to an all strong and righteous folk hero. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And I would imagine there's even more. And I mean, some of these dudes are even relative bad guys. Like Genghis Khan is an absolute piece of shit. And yet he's well regarded in Mongolia. Because fucking duh. If you were Mongolian, you'd probably like his ass too. They built a gigantic, like 90-foot fucking golden statue of his ass. Again, the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with your average voter. Correct. It's unfortunate, but it's correct. And a lot of it has to do with that people just don't think at all. Even people who are involved in politics, most of them do not think at all. They react, they insult, they push a narrative, they do all kinds of things, but the last thing they fucking do is think. And what I mean by that specifically is take the things that they know, or take something that someone else has told them or they're watching, even if they disagree with it, break it down to its most basic form, analyze it to see if there's any truth or message or anything that is relevant, and you extract the essence of that, compare it to what you have and the essence of what you have, and see if you're wrong or right. And even if you do believe that you're still right, you can still acknowledge that there are good bits about the thing you disagree with. Like, this is anything. This is what government is. Government is no right or wrong. There is no right or wrong policy, because the policy today that's good could be bad next month, because it depends on the situation that you're in. Like, it's like saying that, oh, having a progressive tax system is the best ever. Yeah, if we live in the system that we live in now, this is true. But if we had a different system and a different way of living, it might not be. And these motherfuckers just cannot understand this. And it's even motherfuckers who can answer the question of, if you didn't have breakfast yesterday, how would you feel? They can answer that question. They can do that hypothetical, but they can't do a hypothetical that involves something they actually give a fuck about. They literally do not have the ability to think outside the box that exists within their own self-frame. It's like these people don't read fucking novels, right? It's like you don't read novels where it shows you how other people think, where you can literally get inside the villain's head and you can hear the thoughts that go on in there. This is why I think good fiction is really, really, really necessary to form empathy correctly. Anybody can be empathetic. Anybody can show sympathy, but only someone who has a correct frame can give empathy in the correct amount to the correct people at the correct time. Because even the most dumbass feminist fucking virtue signaling piece of shit is going to acknowledge that if Jeffrey Dahmer showed up to your fucking door, you're not going to show him empathy and sympathy. But they can't extend that beyond the immediate threat of something they recognize as a threat. If it's something that they think might not be a threat, then they'll justify and bend over every which way to say that it's not. Without thinking, without anything. They support their tribe, and that's true. And now I'm fucking ranting about politics. That's lovely. Yeah, but... All right. I gotta stop. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna rile myself up. That's not gonna be good. At the point in the unfolding biblical narrative... Excuse me. The book's in the way. I didn't realize that. At the point in the unfolding biblical narrative when Noah enters the story, the wickedness of Cain's descendant has become the dominant... Excuse me. The wickedness of Cain's descendant has come to dominate the entirety of human endeavor. Nice. So, the wickedness of Cain's descendants has become to dominate the entirety of human endeavor. The whole world is full of Canaanites, I see. This is a particularly negative example of the gigantism that comes to characterize the exploits of those in the past. In consequence of this widespread emergence and utter dominance of the tendency toward evil, God determines to destroy what he has created. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Genesis 6:5. This means a variant retelling of the story both of the fall of man and the murder of Abel, another account of the inevitable fall and the destruction of those who reject the fundamental moral order, those who are insufficient in their sacrifices, and those who turn bitter vengeance and exploitation of self and others, those who turn against God. Speaking of fiction, I finished the first chapter of a long story I'm working on, and I'm curious whether you would exchange notes on your current lore bits. What do you mean? I don't have a story. All of it is just, this is the way the world is. So if you want me to read your chapter, I'll be more than happy to. So yeah, I mean, if you want access to my world anvil, I think I can give you access. I don't know how to share it. Every time I've shared it, nobody can access it. So, and it says you can have members and shit, but I think you have to go on like World Anvil 2 or something. I don't know, dude. I've been trying not to talk about it overly much because I don't want to talk about it too much and then get satisfaction from the fact that I've talked about it, rather than to spur me to do actual creation, if you get my meaning. Yes, those who turn away from God. But I do think fiction is required for that, because especially like the fiction that I've read, it's not just that you get inside the head of the main character, right? The hero. It's that you are, this is why I think movies they're great. TV shows are great. But if you never read fiction, then you never truly get to see what's inside someone else's head. Then you really only understand the world through a Saturday morning cartoon view lens of how the world looks. Whereas if you actually read fiction that's pretty good, especially stuff to do with heroes and villains and all that type of shit, then you actually get to get inside the head of the villains. Many of them do. Or anti-heroes, or not villains necessarily, but people who work against the hero but are also on the side of good. Like this happens a lot in the Drizzt novels, where there are people who are technically on Drizzt's side, right? They're fighting with him against the Dark Elves, or they're fighting with him against some other evil thing, but they're also doing machinations in the background to make Drizzt lose where they want to win, right? They want to knock him down a peg, and they want to make themselves up a peg, that kind of shit. And so it allows you to see into the head of someone who might be working against the hero, but is not necessarily evil, but you can understand from their point of view why they would do such things, right? And how they could, in essence, convince themselves that what they're doing is moral and good and righteous. And insofar as the villains as well, you could do this. This is one of the reasons, like, Lore Reloaded did a video yesterday that was fucking amazing. And it was about Khan Noonien Soon. And one of the reasons why he is such a compelling character in Star Trek is because he's fucking right. He's right. He's absolutely right. And Star Trek proves it. Every series, every episode proves it, that extraordinary individuals are the ones that shape the future of everyone. And that's all Singh wanted. He wanted to lead humanity into the future. And the reason that he's so scary is because he's right. Is because what did they refer to him as? He was the best kind of tyrant. Why was he the best kind of tyrant? Because he ruled about a quarter of the surface of the earth for 25 years. They had peace, order, justice, you name it. They flourished. You just didn't have freedom. What does that mean? Well, you could choose what you wanted to do in life. If you could go to school, you could do all those things, right? But you couldn't stand on the side of the thing and said, Khan can suck my dick. And such. Right? If you go outside and you start causing trouble, they'll throw you in a box. And you know what's really fucked up? There's a lot of people today in the United States of America that are looking at the shit that like democratic cities are doing, are just letting shit go, and they're also looking at the shit that the Republicans are doing, being weak pieces of shit, like wet noodles, and they're thinking, you know what? If Khan Noonien Soon came today, I'd fucking let him. I wouldn't, but I know there are people who would. And that is because what he offers works. It does. And that's why it's so goddamn scary. Because if you actually have a tyrant who does care about his civilization and does care about his people, then you have something that is an absolute abject threat to liberty. Because it is proof that totalitarianism can actually work. And it does, because it has through most of history. Although it doesn't work as well as a fully pluralistic capitalist society, a liberal utopia, as it were, which is what most people in history would call us today, is a liberal utopia. Like, do you understand that 500 years ago, that our ancestors, most of us, were all peasants? They lived under what you would consider poverty, barely had enough to eat, ruled over every aspect of their lives. Every day was work. All day was work. Oh, you didn't work as much in medieval times. Bullshit. Fuck you. Yeah, okay, you didn't have to go till the fields 15 hours a day, but after you went outside and milked the cows and chickens and did all the other stupid farm shit that you got to do, what happens next? Oh, you get to go to your home, and what do you get to do? Do you get to sit down and watch TV and listen to the radio, or listen to the radio? No. What do you got to do? You got to fucking make clothes, or do this, or do that, or do some other fucking task that takes up most of your day that you don't even get any free time at all. And you live in like abject poverty of what we consider. If you took them, your ancestors, and you pulled them out of there and plucked them and showed them your life, they would believe you lived in a utopia. That's what they would believe. You have more than enough food. You have more than enough of literally everything. You have all kinds of devices and wondrous technology to make your life easier and more comfortable. And the vast majority of people are not even a little bit appreciative of it. Not even a little bit. All they can think about is woe is me. And I think that's one of the reasons why our society in and of itself is so sick, is because we can't show thankfulness, gratitude, and appreciation for the fact that we live in the most wondrous, privileged time in human history. And even if it's not perfect, it is significantly, orders of magnitude better than anything that has ever existed, ever in human society. And the fact that there are still places that live lower than our ancestors did in the medieval times, even before then, is insane. But that doesn't make it our fault at all. Because the thing about it is that if you wanted to have a successful civilization, then you would look at other civilizations that were successful and copy them. Simple as. That's what the Japanese did. Look how well it worked out for them. That's what the Chinese did. Look how well it worked for them. Well, aside from the communism thing, I mean, I was more referring to like the tech that they got now. But, we don't need to get into that shit. It's just one of those deals where it really does boil down to we just don't show enough appreciation. Anyway, I'm fucking ranting like a madman. I am going to go pee because, oh my God. And then we'll be right back with some more reading. Maybe then we'll get some Diablo. I don't know. We'll talk about it here in a minute. All right, be right back. Stand by. We shall return after these messages from Burst. Stay tuned for more right here at the Tango Hotel.
Make it rain, baby.
They're all on fire and poison. Be rude. We'll work out the details later. But I need to figure out how I'm going to blow that up before I blow it up.
That all ready to suffer your wrath.
Blaze? Blaze? Bro? Are you okay, man? You got a little anger you got there, buddy? Holy shit. Dude.
Good copy. Moving on target.
That's a bit much, don't you think, sir? Holy shit. You know, that's good. Alrighty, here we go. So yeah, like I said, I think it would probably be better if we started limiting suffrage. Like I would, one of the things that I think we should do is we should bring back voting tests. We shouldn't do the stupid shit that the people in Jim Crow did. Absolutely not. So don't think I'm thinking about that shit. Like literally shit like, oh, you know, write your name, and if you print your name, you fail because it said write, which means write it in cursive rather than in print. It's so fucking stupid. I'm talking about shit like, if you don't know who the fucking president is, at least, like, you don't even have to spell the name right. If you don't know who it is, you shouldn't be voting for anybody at all. If you don't know who the vice president is, you probably shouldn't be voting at all. And you certainly shouldn't be voting in your local elections if you don't know who the fuck is in your local elections. If you can't write their fucking name, you should not be able to vote for them. At least close enough to where we would know who you're talking about. If one dude is named Jim and the other dude is named Tom, what the fuck are we talking about? Right? You know what I'm saying? But if you can't even write down their names and you only know them, oh, I'm going to vote for a Republican. We should definitely remove the party affiliations off of the voting ballots. That's for damn sure. Stuff like basic math problems would probably be another good one. Because it really does boil down to, think about like this. Have you seen those videos going around of the high school students who can't fucking read? Have you seen that? Think about this. In a couple years, those motherfuckers will be voting. They're in a high school, right? In a high school with teachers who are supposed to be teaching them. And they can't read English in high school. And none of their teachers seem to give a fuck. My Vice President Mike, Pennsylvania. Oh man, yeah, and here's the other thing. Do you realize how many people in the United States graduate high school and can't read at even a high school level? Half the United States reads at a 6th grade level, dude. That's why Trump talks the way he does. Is so people can fucking understand him. Do you think the average voter would be able to understand this book at all? Even if they had a fucking dictionary with them and they could look up every word they don't know immediately? No, they couldn't. They lack the education, they lack the intelligence, they lack the curiosity. It's as simple as that, dude. It's not that it makes them a bad person, it just makes them fucking stupid. And a lot of it is by fucking choice. That's the thing that blows my mind. Like, every time I voted, I don't vote for shit I don't know. When I lived in Spring Hill, I actually looked up all the people, looked at all their platforms, fucking went through all of their stupid shit. I took an entire weekend and fucking went through all that stupid shit. I even watched the debate. Fuck. And you know what's really stupid? There were 2 people running for school board. One was independent. One was running as a Republican. The guy running as an independent, he should have ran as a Republican. Why? He was a businessman who had lived in Spring Hill all his fucking life. Multi-millionaire. Knew exactly what the fuck he was talking about. Had his fucking shit squared away. Absolutely. I voted for that motherfucker. The Republican was a retard. An absolute fucking moron. And he was 18. He had literally just graduated high school. They put a man who graduated high school 6 months before in charge of their entire school system. I'm trying to keep it not angry, if you get my meaning. I don't want to be mean. Because honestly, this is the thing that really gets to me. It's not their fault. It's actually not really their fault. Do you want to know why? Because they were lied to their entire lives. That's why. Because they were told all kinds of things that were fucked up, all kinds of things that were not true, and all kinds of things to gas them up to believe that they need to go vote. But not that they actually need to be intelligent about it, not that they need to put any thought into it, and not the fact that they need to actually, like, put the work to be the responsible citizen that they're supposed to be. It's honestly just like with the fucking progressive retards who virtue signal, with the people who fucking vote and wear the sticker that they voted, but they didn't do any fucking research. It's like, I'm doing my civic duty. But your civic duty is to actually make a decision, not just fucking pick one. And it kills me. Absolutely just... A few years back, I think it was 2018. It was in one of the New England states. They elected a sheriff in a highly conservative county. It was a sheriff, or it was some local county thing. Maybe it was mayor, rep. I don't fucking remember, but that's not the point, really. In a Republican district, for the person that ran as a Republican, because no one else was running. So they voted for a trans person who was a Satanist to be their elected representative in this extremely right-leaning conservative district. I cannot express just how disappointing it is to realize that the entire world and a good portion of my countrymen are just mouth-drooling fucking retards. And not in a ha ha ha, I do interesting, stupid things, but, you know, la la la. No. I mean, unthinking, uncaring about the unthinking, going through the motions because it makes you feel good, emotionally driven. Anyway. Think it would be a great move to dismantle the bipartisan system? I don't necessarily agree. If a party is uber stupid, they gradually fade out from lack of voters and at the end die as a movement. Left versus right has no such cleansing mechanism. You are incorrect. It's always been left versus right here. But it's changed dramatically since the beginning. There is no Whig party. The Republicans have only been around for, what, 150 years? 180 years at this point? The only reason the Democrats survived in name is, I have no idea actually why the Democrats survived in name, but they are not anything like the party they used to be. I mean, think about it, dude. They're become almost completely different than they were 20 years ago. And that's why, even though Trump is under 70% disapproval on the economy, the Republicans and the Democrats are basically in a dead heat for the midterms. Why would that be? Why would that be? That funny, Blackbird. That's a good one. Well done, sir. Even Trump is better. Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels that way, dude. I mean, it's not all Dems, but god damn, dude, when every one of them looks like they're just sucking that prog dick, dude, I can't. I just no. I refuse. I'm not like it's as plain as this. I'm never gonna vote for someone who will disenfranchise me because of my gender, my race, or my sex. It's just not gonna happen. Yeah, I think he's funny as fuck, but, you know, I don't necessarily think I like him as president all that much. I would much prefer someone who is more like Barack Obama or Judge W. Bush, senior or junior. It doesn't fucking matter. Bill Clinton, fucking Ronald Reagan. He's a little bit. He was a little weird too. But fuck, man, Trump has so much baggage, dude. God. And that's the thing, is that think about how much baggage that motherfucker has. Think about just how bad of a person he is to support in any kind of way. And yet, he's more effective in the things that the Republican Party has wanted, as well as a good portion of the electorate. He is more effective in executing on those things than any other politician has been. George W. Bush didn't seal the fucking border. Barack Obama didn't fucking seal the border. Bill Clinton didn't fucking seal the border. Ronald Reagan gave him fucking amnesty. What the fuck am I supposed to do? If you're all fucking full of shit and won't do anything, then eventually we're going to elect somebody who will. Or at least promise they'll do it when you won't. Jesus Christ. Well, it would be easier if they didn't accuse him of things he did not do all the time. That is true. That is true. But that's it's the same problem that the Republicans had when Obama was in office. Most Republicans had Obama derangement syndrome. So basically, if Obama said or did anything, then they had to come out against it in some way or find some way which it was bad. And it's one of the reasons I hate the Republican Party. And why, when Trump came in and burned their establishment shit down, I cheered him the entire fucking way. I voted for him in the Republican primary in Tennessee. I sure the fuck did. Fuck all of you. Everybody who was in the 2016 race, fuck all of you. Except Marco Rubio. He's cool. I like him. I like him a lot more now. Let's just say that. A whole lot more. That fucking Iran speech was great. One of those people has exactly one processor. Exactly. Everything has to be a power play, like when he got into the spat with the Pope, treating him like a senator that voted against him. Yes. But it's not, you're right, it's a power play. But I think you're missing, it's not just that he has one processor. I don't think that's the case. I think that's what it looks like if you don't understand how persuasion works and how how human psychology at the highest political levels works, because it is a power play. Everything is backed up by power, right? That's one of the lies that so many people believe that is not true. Is that at the bottom of everything, there's only one thing: violence. That's it. What enforces all of our laws? Violence. That's it. What enforced international law? The threat of violence. If you break it and we don't like you, we're going to kick your ass. Simple as. So what happens when the people enforcing international law break the international law? Fucking nothing. That's why. Because it's not about the law, it's about power. It's always been about power. And this whole like shenanigans after World War II about a rules-based order was just all bullshit. Like, conceptually it's true, and we could live in a world like that, but the problem is that everyone has to agree to it. And there has to be an enforcement mechanism. This is how you can have a nation state. Why can you have a nation state? Why can you have laws in a nation? Because there is a centralized authority that has a monopoly on violence that will whoop your fucking ass if you break it. International law is not enforced by an overarching government. What enforced it ever since World War II was the United States of America's military and the alliance with NATO. So what happens when Russia breaks international law? When Vladimir Putin makes himself a fucking war criminal? What happens? Nothing. Nothing will happen. And why? Because he has nukes. Duh. This is why we don't want Iran to have nukes. Could you imagine how fucking crazy they would act if they had nukes? Look at how crazy they act without nukes. They support all kinds of terrorist bullshit that kill all kinds of people. Muslims, Christians, Jews, you name it. We spend millions, billions of dollars between Europe, us, and every other fucking country in that region's tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars is spent managing these fucking clowns. So imagine if they were just a peaceful nation like everybody else and weren't crazy. Think about how much money we'd save. People are bitching about how much money we're spending bombing Iran, but if we can get rid of them and make them not crazy anymore, then how much money will we save? We'd have bought it on a discount. It'll pay for itself in fucking 5 years. Imagine if the Strait of Hormuz had no bullshit Iran shit going on with it. And it was just free flow. No bullshit, no craziness. Everybody gets to use it. Don't even need military ships there. It's just, have at it, boys. Have a good time. Think about that. Think about how peaceful, prosperous everything would be. I mean, let's just be real. We'd probably even let Iran charge a toll. We wouldn't if it was reasonable. The price of doing business, man. Nobody give a fuck about that. Right? They have a right to, manage their waterways. That's fair. No one would give a fuck, but that's not what's happening. That's not what they want. They don't want to make money and live in peace like fucking Saudi Arabia, UAE, or Qatar. Even though some of them do some of that shit too. Yeah. That's just how power works. North Korea is weird. They don't hurt people. They just hurt themselves. And that's the thing. Why are we not flipping out that North Korea got nukes? Because North Korea isn't going to do anything. It's not ruled by absolute insane religious ideologues that want to burn the world so they can bring about fucking heaven. It's ruled by a despotic dictator who loves stuffing his face and yanking his dick. That guy doesn't want to die. But the Iranians do. Wow, we really went all over the place, didn't we? Yeah, and he's such a I can't wait till that asshole gets out of power, man. I really can't. But yeah, like I said, at the bottom of everything, it's power. That's just where it is. It's just like property ownership is enforced by violence. You don't own something unless you can defend it, or you live in a society that has property rights. And what that means is that you don't have to defend your property. Is that you give the ability for the government to do the violence and they'll defend your property for you. Or make sure the motherfucker that destroyed or hurt your property in any way gives you recompense should they do so. And that is what created a prosperous society. Why would you do any industry? Why would you do anything if somebody could just take it and the government ain't going to do anything? If 10 guys with guns can just come and take all your shit, you're never going to do anything. You're never going to want to do anything. Think about that. There's no industry, there's no business if you don't have things like property rights, things like the government ensuring that if you are molested by another individual in any way, that they will punish and give you recompense using the monopoly of violence that they have. This is one of the reasons why Europe took forever to get out of where they were, is because of the feudal system. It wasn't until they switched to a more mercantile thing and then eventually toward a more capitalistic system that it just fucking exploded. Because that's what happens when you give everybody the ability to have economic freedom. When you promise every single man, be they noble or not, that if you build something and you make something and it's awesome, not only is it yours and only yours, you can sell it and make money, and the government will not allow anybody to take that from you. So this means that if you start a bakery and somebody smashes your window and or steals your product, the government will not only punish that person and create a disincentive structure for people for stealing your shit, but will also make that motherfucker give you recompense in some fashion. Either by enslaving that individual and the state paying you from his work, or having that individual pay you directly. And when you have that guarantee, it allows every man and woman who is industrious to scale. Think about that. So you only need a small percentage of your population to make most of the shit. That's how it works. But if you suppress, 80% of your population, like you do in like feudalism, and not allow them economic mobility due to their own innate abilities, and you suppress them, then what happens is you're taking 80% of that small amount of people and you're making it even smaller. Or excuse me, you're taking that small amount of people and you're cutting 80% of them out of the loop. And you're giving preferential treatment to idiots and malcontents who will destroy your system for their own personal benefit because they're either too stupid or don't give enough of a fuck about anybody other than themselves and what's happening right now. All right, yeah. So we were reading at some point, I believe. Anyway. Okay, so this is no spiteful action on God's part, to be clear. It is instead the starkness of warning to those tempted to deviate. The road to the promised land is straight, narrow, and hard. Matthew 7:14. While the road downward to perdition is broad and immediately inviting. It is not that God is vengeful, quite the contrary. It is instead that his insistence on an inviolable. I'm pretty sure I know what that means. Inviolable moral code cannot violate. Yes, okay. Superordinate to merely human. Okay. It is instead that his insistence on an inviolable moral code, superordinate to the merely human, is correct, and that this order is so real that transgressions against it have real consequences. He is essentially saying that God insists on a moral order that is not to be violated, that is above humankind, and that is actually fundamentally correct. And that if you violate or transgress against this moral order that is fundamentally correct and greater than humans, then you will have very real and dire consequences. This reflects the reality of the human condition. Life is a game whose price of entry is death, and worse. Human existence is the most serious of businesses. Thus, the wages of sin are real and consequential. In our pride and rebellion, we thus can and do make, like Milton's Lucifer, a hell of heaven, striving to bring even out of what is good something miserable and terrible. Quoting from said book, so stretched out the huge length of the archfiend's lay, chained on the burning lake, nor ever thence had risen or heaved his head, but that he will, in high permission of all ruling heaven, left him at large to his own designs, that with reiterated crimes he might heap on himself damnation while he sought evil to others. Cain's descendants fall into sin, and the cosmic order degenerates until there is no option but that of complete collapse. This might seem harsh. Is indubitably harsh, but is clear the case that civilization can fail utterly and be subsumed so completely by chaos that even the memory vanishes. This truth is captured in the biblical text of the story of Noah, and is a motif that is in fact very widespread because of its fundamental truth. In the Mesopotamian creation myth, for example, the Inuin Elish, the creator goddess / dragon Tiamat, similarly regrets her decision to act generatively. Yeah, okay. Her wayward first children, gods in this account rather than men, as the story of Noah, heedlessly slay Apsu, Tiamat's male consort, order itself, and attempt to make a home in or on his corpse. This act of extreme carelessness enrages nature, mother of all things, the very Tiamat who then threatens them all with destruction. This is another example, first, of turning against or showing contempt for both tradition and the Holy Father on the part of the inhabitants of the created world, and second, of the inevitable consequences in doing so. This narrative trope indicates in part that cultures who concentrate too much on what passes for present wisdom, we can dispense with the superstitious foolishness of the past, will lose the vertical traditional orientation that protects them against mere fads and consequences. Fads of consequence. A capitalist and a communist go to hell. At hell's gates, they could choose between communist and capitalist hell. Oh, goodness. So, choose communist hell, right? Because communist hell is basically where I live now. Capitalist hell, you need to eat a bucket of shit a day. In communist hell, it's 2 buckets a day. Capitalists decide to go to capitalist hell, and the ever-loyal communists go to communist hell. They meet after a week and speak. Oh, it's horrible. I need to eat a bucket of shit a day. How about you? Oh, it's horrible. We're always short on shit, and when we aren't, we're short on buckets. Wow. Yeah, I guess. That was pretty good, man. Where the fuck was I? Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this one really is. This part really is interesting. The we can dispense with the superstitious foolishness of the past is exactly what modern day people, atheists specifically, say about a lot of the religious stuff. I mean, I call it stupidity and nonsense too. I'm not immune to this, but I don't mean it in a serious way that it is, quote, stupid, unquote. It's more that people do stupid things with it. That's kind of where I'm at right now, rather than it being stupid itself, because I don't believe that. And I absolutely believe that we should not be throwing the baby out with the bathwater the way the progressives want. They literally want to tear down everything that makes us human and rebuild it from the bottom up. And I can't think of anything more fucking insane than doing something like that, because it goes against nature itself. Eliminating hierarchy is possibly the dumbest, most insane thing you could strive for, because hierarchy is built into our very DNA. Hierarchy exists in animals that have been alive for like 1 billion years. And we evolved from these animals, or more specifically, we evolved from a common ancestor that we shared with these animals 1 billion years ago. Or was it 900 million or some dumb shit like that? I don't know. The point is that it's the most ridiculous thing. You're never going to flatten the hierarchies, number one. And number two, you're tabula rasa. Yes, there you go. That's what it's called. It means blank slate in Latin, I believe. And we are not blank slates. We are, but we're not. Right? We are in the fact that if you put a human in a human culture that is aligned enough with your nature, then you will become that culture. But if that culture is not aligned with your human nature, most humans will not become aligned with that culture. So you're not a blank slate completely, You're a blank slate culturally, but that culture must align with your nature, which is basically like saying the software must be compatible with your hardware. Your hardware is your biology, your brain, its structure, how it works, how it sees the world. If the culture, i.e. the programming, is not compatible with the biology, your hardware, it will not stick. It will not work. And if you try to force it, you will become a miserable piece of shit. And, well, you see how progressives act. So the problem is human errors in either. Exactly. And the reason that you can program culture into people, you absolutely can. If you take a white person and you literally put them with a tribe in the Amazon, or take a, black person who was born to a tribal in Africa and move them to the United States of America and give them to a rich family, and they raise them as their child, then guess what happens? They will have the genetic makeup of their parents, which is their hardware, but they will be able to be programmed somewhat into the software of the culture that they live in. That's just how it works. It may not be as compatible as you think, depending, because if your biology says that your IQ is 54, you're not going to be integrating into the culture as easily as someone whose IQ is 90 or 150, right? So that if that is all if that's all flattened out, and you're just looking at the culture programming part, and you're not accounting for that, then it will work. I forget what it's called. You account for that. I forget what it is. A perfect communism or capitalism will be quite good. Well, yeah. But it's also, well, see, when you say it's a communist hell or a capitalist hell, what I thought you meant is that what a communist would see as hell and what a capitalist sees as hell. Not that the hell itself is run as if it were a communist or capitalist state. Because technically, if they were run as imagine if hell were run as a capitalist state, well, the people who are eating the buckets of shit don't want to eat buckets of shit. So why would they buy it? So if you're you know what I'm saying? So it's like, this is how you can say a thing and it mean like 5 different things. All right, I need to go use the restroom. I'll be right back. Stand by.
Flawless victory, baby. Flawless victory. Seed, hail to the year. From demons does I'm actually kind of scared because this is why I saved this. Like, this is a lot of dudes. This is a lot of dudes.
You got a gunner, trooper, gunner, and match. Oh yeah, baby. But you know who we're not going to use? We're not going to use these tanks. But you know who we are.
Alrighty. Here we go. We got it. But yeah, the tabula rasa stuff, man, it's like, if you want to know what it'll do to you, then just look at most of the progs who believe in this like trans ideology shit, dude. Their lives are absolute like raving mad shit. It's when you atomize yourself like that, out of belonging, out of place, out of time, you have no connection to the past, you have no connection to the future, it completely and utterly destroys you psychically. Oh, I know the joke is about communism running out of everything. It's just, in 10 years it'd be run out of sand. Yes, correct. But yeah, I mean, it's fair, it's funny, but it's still one of those things where it's a great way to where you can say something and it can be interpreted in a multitude of different ways, plethora even, to add a little bit more verbosity to the stream. But like, their lives are miserable, and mine was as well. Not because of tabula rasa, but because I was a degenerate fucko, and I did a bunch of degenerate shit all the time, and I should not have, and it was leading me down a really bad path. This is like way back before I started streaming, and I was a whore. So I had lots of sex with lots of different people all the time, and my first marriage was open. So I mean, yeah, I was a complete degenerate. Drank, smoked, drugs. And that in and of itself didn't make me miserable. It was the fact that I was doing all those things instead of the things I needed to do. And once I realized the things I needed to do, it started to really change my perspective. Fucked my life up really bad too. Because then I had to contend with the fact that I'd been lying to myself for so long about the things that were true in life. And one of them was basically like traditional family values, right? Not in so much as just like what Christians believe, but more to the point of, do you like your civilization? Yes. Do you want it to continue? Yes. Then you need to make it continue by making more people. Number one. Do you want to have fulfillment in life? Yes. Do you want to be content in your life? Yes. Okay. Then you must subordinate your temptation toward debauchery and focus it in more constructive places. That doesn't mean you can't be debauched. I still do a lot of debauched things, but I practice temperance. I do not indulge the way I used to, and if I do indulge, it's in a very specific way. For instance, when it comes to sex, I do not even fantasize about other women other than my wife. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Goodness gracious, woman. Thank you, baby. For the 82 months. Crazy. Crazy. Love it. Thank you, baby. But, yeah, so, like, even when it comes to my sexual escapades, I am no longer sexually immoral. I still do a lot of those things, but I do them in the way that I'm supposed to. With temperance, I focus all of my lust and love onto my wife. And so all of the things that I used to do, I do with her and only her, and focus on that. And then I also subordinate that to, doing things for her, like helping her with chores, helping her take care of the kids, helping, with the house, and all the things that a man needs to do in life to make sure his family is taken care of, and to have that family, and to invest the time and the energy and focus into the family, and raising your children and teaching them and passing on the things that they need to know and reinforcing these things over time has brought me an immense amount of joy, an immense amount of contentment in life that I never knew existed, that exists outside of the fleeting pleasures of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Although they are fun, so don't let me tell you they're not. But I will tell you this, if you indulge too much and give up too much of the rest of your life to it, it will consume you and it will destroy you. So beware. A Czech proverb: a bread always has two crusts everywhere, as in nothing is ever perfect. Consequently, baking a bread without crust is an example of an impossible task. I mean, I think it used to be impossible. I think you can do it now. With modern technology, I'm pretty sure you can make crustless bread. As dumb as that sounds. But yes, it is impossible by any normal means. I would agree. That's what you mean. I just think it's funny that we can do that now. And it really does bother me with how they tried to spread all that foolishness with the trans nonsense, and we're fighting back against it. That's true. It's one of the only reasons I think that the Orange Man and his cohort are even anywhere near electable is because of that shit. Just, I mean, it's like basically think about if the United States Democrats believed in flat Earth, no one would vote for them. That's what the trans shit is like. Most normal people who are not in the cult know all that trans shit is fucking retarded and stupid and crazy. And I refuse to vote for people that even give lip service to it. If you are not adamantly against it, I don't really give a fuck what you say. Something, don't take Proverbs at face value. Odds are no one will gift you a horse. True. Very true. Especially not one made of wood and constructed from ships. There is that them demanding you use their version of identifying people as useless to anyone but themselves. The basic issue is males should not be allowed in female-only spaces. Female-only spaces are sexist spaces that exist to protect females because they are smaller and weaker and slower than men, period. Even if you are a, quote, trans, unquote, man, or quote, trans man, unquote, sorry, you are still stronger, faster, and bigger than your average woman. The average one will be. That's just how it works. And it doesn't matter if you're the same body size. You are stronger. You are faster. You are made this way. Are there women that are faster than some men? Duh. Don't be a retard. Women-only spaces. Exactly. There should be women-only spaces because of those reasons. And not only that, this is the biggest one. There are men who look normal who are psycho predators. And if you let them go into women's bathrooms or women-only spaces where you have basically prey that's slower, weaker, smaller, more easily manipulated by violence. If you give them free access to this space full of prey, they're going to abuse them. Duh. And so I want to protect my wife. I want to protect my daughter. I want to protect my aunt, my aunts, my grandmother from these men who would do this. And the only real way that we can, that's pragmatic, is to have a sexist system of bathrooms and gendered places. And so if you want to use the toilet, then you use it that goes with your genitals. Now, I necessarily don't want a bunch of fucking trans women going into the male bathrooms because that's also kind of creepy. It's not that they're creepy, it's that a lot of men are uncomfortable with women coming in the male bathroom, right? And so, yeah, it just feels all kinds of fucked up. And that's fine. It's just the way it is, man. And the thing about it is here's the crazy thing. If you pass and you don't cause any problems, no one's going to say a fucking thing. Right? If you pass and you go into the bathroom, you go into the stall, you use the bathroom, you come out and you leave and you don't cause any shit. You don't talk about trans. You don't talk about fucking take pictures in the bathroom and and do all that shit. No one's going to care. No one's going to know. And it's going to be okay. It's as simple as that. But so women only spaces. And then the fact that the fundamental problem with this progressive idea is that we must lie about reality. We must all collectively lie to each other and the person to say that they are a woman. And then we are supposed to allow them to go into these female-only spaces based on that lie. No, absolutely not. Not going to happen. Nope. Yep. I mean, is there a difference between a male and a female brain? Yes, there are. But If you're trans, most likely you still have a male brain. There's just something fucking wrong with it. Just like, oh God, this is going to give me so much trouble. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just like homosexuality, right? Homosexuality is not just a sexuality. It is a sexual dysfunction. Why is it a sexual dysfunction? Because it prevents you from reproducing. Or more specifically, it lowers the chances that you'll reproduce significantly enough that it might as well be to the point where you can't reproduce. Because imagine if you have erectile dysfunction from the age of 20. Are you going to be able to reproduce? Maybe. Even without medical intervention, you might be able to reproduce, but the chances are going to be a lot fucking lower. Right? Especially if you have any other type of sexual dysfunction. If your sexual dysfunction is you can't get off without like feet touching your private parts, well, you're probably never going to inseminate a woman, are you? So it's a lot like that. There's something wrong with your brain. Just like there's something wrong with my fucking brain. That's why I'm a fucking autistic retard, okay? I'm not normal. Too bad. That's life. And it's not about dying out. That's not really what it's about. What I'm talking about is we are animals, and we are talking about medicine. We are not talking about your fucking feelings, okay? We're not talking about anybody's feelings. If you are normal, what is considered normative human, then you are heterosexual, because that means that will increase the chances that you will procreate and produce children more than people who are not heterosexual. If you're heterosexual, you have a greater chance of procreating than me as a bisexual, or even more so than a homosexual. Because why would a homosexual have sex with a woman to procreate? Unless they were driven to by the peers or by the society or both. Which most gay men in antiquity were, most likely, right? Especially if you were born to an important family, you got to continue the line, bro. Doesn't matter what you want to do. This is what you got to do. And so it's normal for animals not to. Yes, but again, we're talking about a medical dysfunction. There's something wrong with you that prevents you from performing this normative function that humans have. Like you would say that if you were missing a fucking arm, that is a dysfunction. You are disabled. You are not normal. Humans have 2 arms. If you ask any person on the street, how many arms do humans have? They say 2. That doesn't mean the person with 1 arm is not human, right? So, and it doesn't mean that they're not disabled. It doesn't mean that it doesn't not mean that they're not less than, because they are. They are less able to than others. That doesn't mean that they can't overcome those things and become just as able with that. None of that means anything. It's just the reality is. And so if you are homosexual, it is a sexual dysfunction. And the vast majority of men that I know who are homosexual would absolutely take the pill and make themselves straight if they could, because they want to have a normal fucking life. Don't get me wrong. They say they love all the sex and shit, but they still want to settle down and have a family. They just find it fucking disgusting to have sex with women. Which I don't really get, but whatever. I mean, I kind of do, because I don't really like guys kissing, so, it's whatever. And so technically, me being a bisexual is also a sexual dysfunction. It just doesn't decrease the chances of me procreating nearly as much as if I were a homosexual. Because I am attracted to both. And so I could go my entire life without ever having sex with a man, but it doesn't matter, but I still have this sexual dysfunction. But it just doesn't stop me from doing the thing that I'm supposed to do. I'm just off of normative. Because most people are not like this. And this is why I hate this discussion, is because it's never on the facts. It's never on what is. It's on how people fucking feel about it and how people identify. And do you know what the really sad part is? Is because we cannot describe homosexuality as a sexual dysfunction that is medical in nature, i.e. tied to some part of you, be it genetics, be it brain function, be it hormonal, whatever the fuck it is. If we acknowledge that it's off-normative and dysfunctional as a sexual dysfunction, meaning that you cannot procreate, you cannot have a normal life like most people can, then we would work to potentially fix it. But because people in the past have used Christianity and religion as a justification to torture people for this dysfunction, we can't say that anymore. Because then it's the same. It's like it's basically like if you drink water, you're a Nazi because Hitler drank water. Well, if you want to cure the sexual dysfunction that homosexuality gives homosexuals, then you must be a fucking Bible thumping Christian retard who wants to fucking send them, pray the fucking gay away. Which is stupid on one hand, but on the other, if you are a Christian and you're a homosexual and you want to abide by your religion, then you'll be celibate. Or force yourself to have a relationship with a woman. But I don't know too many homosexuals that are willing to make that kind of sacrifice for God. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm certainly fucking not. If I weren't happily married, I'd get dysfunctional too, seeing how much lawyers earn on women divorcing. Yeah, that's fair. And generally, I've most never seen it done in a productive manner. And that's the problem, is that people care too much about feeling and optics. And that's really what it boils down to, is that the entire society is obsessed with optics. This is why all the deportation stuff is like, oh, I want illegals deported, but I don't want them actually deported. Because you're actually doing the deportation, and you doing the deportation and me seeing it makes me feel bad, so now you can't do it. Optics. Just so fucking stupid. So, and a lot of it boils down to that, is that it must be bad because Christians did it in the past for bad reasons, even though they may have had good intentions, as it paves the way to hell. We're also way more likely to end up in heterosexual relationships as they have access to near entire heterosexual dating pool. Correct. Which is larger. Yes, correct. You are correct. But you also missed a mark there. I've had way more male partners than female partners. Do you know why? Because men are degenerate fucksticks. And women are the gatekeepers of sex. Men are the gatekeepers of relationships. And if you have two men together, there is no gatekeeper of sex because they both want to have lots and lots of fucking sex. And so you end up having lots and lots of fucking sex. And so this is why most gay men, at least until they're like 40s or 50s, are complete degenerate scum, is because they don't practice temperance at all, and temperance is not enforced by the opposite sex because they're not attracted to the opposite sex, right? That's essentially how men are tempered, is they have to do work to get sex from women. Right? You got to do what she wants. You got to do things that are productive, and then you can get the sex. So once you build civilization a little bit, then you can get the sex you want. And it's gatekept, so you got to do these things to make it happen. Whereas if it's just man on man, it's like, I ain't got to do shit. We both want it. Let's go. And you can fuck all day and not even think about it. But in the end, you are correct that you're more likely to end up in a heterosexual relationship because most bisexuals that I know eventually want to have a family and all that other shit too. And you can't do that if you're in a gay relationship. Not in the same way, obviously. And not only that, even though I am a bisexual, I am far more inclined to heterosexual relationships. For instance, I do not kiss men. That's not what happens. And I rarely, if ever, allow a man to enter me. That is not a thing. No, I am the dominant one. That's just how it works. And so, on a scale of homosexual to heterosexual, I'm not heterosexual, but I'm certainly not homosexual. And I do lean more toward women, especially due to things like breasts. I really, really like boobs. Let's just say my wife is as well endowed in the chest as I am in my crotch. And so we can't help them. How can you help these men who can't have these normal lives if you don't acknowledge that there's a problem in the first place? And if you can't do any research on any medicines or treatments that might help because you're afraid of looking like Christians used to 80 years ago, I don't give a fuck what they used to look like 80 years ago or 50 years ago or 30 years ago. I don't give a fuck about those people. I give a fuck about the homosexuals today. I care that they can't have normal relationships like they might want to. How many of them actually might want to, but are afraid to say so because they don't want to be called out by their own community? How many people live in that community are afraid to say shit like that simply because they don't want to be abandoned, like they know they will? They know they will be abandoned, just like they were abandoned by those crazy Christian fucks the moment they step out of line. But we can't help them. We can't have empathy for them. We can't have sympathy for them in this way because it, will make you like them. It'll make you like the bad people because it looks like the bad people, even though it's not the bad people. Even though it doesn't come from the same place, even though it doesn't come from anything like that. It comes from a place of thinking like you're logical and an engineer and not a fucking ideologically bent retard. Because basically what they've done is they've taken one ideologically bending retard, the excessive hatred of homosexuality by Christians, and just went the opposite direction with the mind-bending fucking homosexuality retardation. In the exact opposite direction. Be queer, do crime. Start going to Target to meet women. The women to man ratio is 10-1, and they're already looking for things they don't need. Nice. That's pretty good. And to be fair, that's fairly accurate. Every time I go there, it's fucking fuck ton of women. But yeah, none of these men are going to be ever to be helped because they can't ever even ask. No one is allowed to talk about this in the public sphere. Like, imagine this. Next year, I decide to run for office. Somebody's gonna find this, and it's gonna disqualify me from holding office for like 50% of whatever constituent might vote for me because they're so fucking retarded they can't understand what I'm talking about. And so, I'm talking about treating homosexuality. I must be a fucking what is it called? Homophobic, schizo-Christian fucking nationalist or something, right? I'm a Nazi. Nazi. God, I hate these people. Someone spoke like you at the White House, I'd vote for him. Yeah, I know, but the problem is that I'm lazy. I don't like doing work. I'm very abrasive. So what that means is that I don't give a fuck about your feelings. I'm going to tell you to do it, and if you don't do it, I'm going to fire you and find someone who will. I don't think I would be very good in government. I don't think I would handle authority and power in the correct way. I do not believe that. And the main reason is because I think more like Lincoln than I like to admit. And that's not a good thing. Everybody bitches about, oh, Trump did this and they did this to violate this law, blah, blah. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. At the end of the day, nobody cares because if it's advantageous to your tribe, you'll support it. If it's not advantageous to your tribe, you won't. Because everybody admits that breaking the rules is fine if you win. And if you want to know how I know that, there's a statue of Abraham Lincoln. It's 20 foot tall, and he's sitting in a throne in Washington, D.C. This is a man who violated the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 8th, 10th, 11th, and 12th Amendments. He also committed war crimes against the American population. Multitude of war crimes, I might add. Ordered them himself. And the main general who's a hero for the Union, he's the one that did them. And he's considered a hero. Got medals and all kinds of shit. For murdering, slaughtering, raping, salting the fields of, and burning all through the South. Heroes. Got medals. And then they want me to care about the fucking retarded drunk army officers at Wounded Knee. Sure, bro, sure. This is the problem, is that when you judge history this way, you literally have to tear it all down. Because everybody in history was a piece of shit in some way. Nobody who did anything great is a good person. Because to do great things, you can't be. Because it would destroy you before you ever got anywhere near the power to do so. And then the power itself corrupts you as well. And this is evident in people like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Hussein Obama. I wouldn't say Trump because he was already that way before he got in office. I have a fantasy of being just should I be given power, but I recognize it is a fantasy. It is. And cannot be proven true until demonstrated. And my odds of fulfillment of that fantasy are slim. And here's the problem. If you follow all the rules, you'll lose power. That's the problem. That's the way every system works that we have. If you follow the rules and you're a good person, then your enemies who hate you and want to destroy you in every way possible will break the rules and bend the rules in every which way possible. They will lie, they will cheat, they will steal, and you will lose. Yep. That's how we got to where we are in this country now, by the way. The Voting Rights Act basically solidified, 12 Democrat House seats? And then on top of that, they gerrymandered a bunch of them to the extreme, like 30 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. And they're absolutely insane. And that gave them another, 15 seats or some shit like that. And then you have all the illegals coming in since the 60s. So basically, they ignore the rules, they violate the rules, they set up rules to benefit them. And so they win, and so they had undue power for 80 years without a true check because of the way they stacked the deck. And the entire time they were doing this, what did the other party do? Did it hold them to account? No. They played their own power games in other ways. And that's why they lost. And one of the reasons they lose is because, like so many people want to say today, Republicans view power as wine snobs view alcohol. And the Democrats view power like alcoholics view alcohol. And I think the problem with that is that we need a balance between those. I really do. And that's the thing is I know exactly what I'll do if I were given power. I think about it all the time. If I had the technological might to become dictator of the world or, take over each country or whatever, I know exactly what I would do. I would go, let's say I took over the United States of America right now. I would go through all the prisons and I would literally kill all of the murderers, rapists, and all the people who are actually guilty. And one of the ways that you could, determine this is look at their records. Okay. This guy's got a rap sheet 10 feet long and he's in jail for murder for 20 years. All right, you're gone. And especially if they're old, if they're young, give them a choice. Will you take enslavement? We'll enslave you. We'll use the money that we earn from your labor to pay for your existence. And you could do this for the rest of your life until you're dead. And you'll be given a somewhat comfortable living. That's fine. We don't need to torture you. There's none of that. Or you could just die. And that would solve a good portion of a lot of our problems, because one of the things that we're doing is that we're spending so much money on people who don't deserve it at all. I'm not talking about the one guy who who has a bad decision and he goes to jail for a little while and he gets out and he changes his life. I want that to happen. That's what I want. I'm talking about the 2 to 3 to 4 to 5% of the population who will never stop committing crimes. They need to be locked in a box and put into work camps, or they need to be unalived. And if you're a person who is not crazy, means you're deemed competent to stand trial and such, but you continue to murder people, like let's say Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer should have been executed shortly after he was convicted, maybe after an appeal or two. I mean, literally just taken out back and shot, because this is a man who will never be able to reintegrate back into society, ever. And now he is a burden to society forever. He is not only a burden to society, he is also a danger to every other inmate you put him next to. That's not right. How is that right? How is it right that not only that our civilization must bear the burden of the weight of not only this motherfucker eating and shitting every day and existing, but also put other people in danger who are also being punished for things that they've done wrong? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not overly, empathetic to people in jail who get fucking bad things happen to them. But if you're in jail for theft or even assault and you get murdered, that's not a good thing. Right? That's not a good thing. It's not a good thing if you get fucking raped in prison. That's not a good thing. Unless you're a rapist. Then it's not really a good thing. It's just, I don't care. So, yeah, we would get rid of a large portion of our prison population, or enslave them, which would be legal, by the way, under the Constitution. Absolutely legal. The enslaving part, not the slaying part. I think the slaying part would be too, honestly, as long as it's not cruel and unusual, right? I'd have to think about that a little bit more. Then after that, we're going full authoritarian as far as enforcing current laws. Not making new laws to make, speech illegal. No, I don't want to do that. But literally every retard that's threatening to kill people, inciting violence, that's doing all of the I wanna unalive the orange man, or won't somebody do it? All of those people get arrested. Every last one of them. And they all get put into fucking camps. All of them. If you threaten somebody, you're done. If you insinuate violence upon someone, you're done. We're done with that. We're done with that. 20 years ago, 40 years ago, I would have been more okay with joking death threats, right? Because we didn't live in an assassination culture the way we do today. The first president spoke blatant lies to the powers of the time, greatly inflating our population and lumping the Slovaks in, who are historically a nation of non-affiliation prior to the problem. I get to live in a country of my own nation. He was a professor of philosophy, and to date we have not considered any statesman greater. Okay. Cool. But you see what I mean? And this is one of the issues with the progs, is that they view it the same way, just like I said, like an alcoholic. They do not have the compulsion to hold back the way you and I do, right? I don't want to have power because I know I will probably abuse it. And if I do have power, I try really hard to think about the consequences of what I'm doing so that it doesn't bring undue disaster. They do not. And the reason they do not, it doesn't matter how many millions or billions of people die. Utopia is on the other end, so every corpse is worth it. Every death is worth it. Every sacrifice is worth utopia. Because they believe in utopia. That's why it's a religion. They want to create heaven on earth. That is what their religion is, heaven on earth. And so that communist utopia that they dream of, it's just like with Iran. They want to create heaven on earth by creating the end times, and everybody dies and the earth is, burned into cinder and everybody goes to heaven or hell. And that's the thing. That's what they want to do. Except the progs don't believe in some Abrahamic religion. They made up their own bullshit. And it's the communist utopia that's on the other side of that. Blaze! Greetings and salutations, my friend. Thank you, sir, for that 40 months. I just realized that is it this one? Ah, there we go. There it is. Now you can see it. Cheers to 40. Cheers, mate. I don't have a drink right now. I've been rambling too much. We still haven't read that much, but I'm having a lot of fun discussing this with you guys. This has been great. Hanging, chilling out, ranting about politics. Into that history established where I see a mark of a leader. Yeah, and that's the thing is like almost all great men break the rules in some form or fashion. If you're a scientist and you're a great man, you obviously break rules. If you're a politician and you're a great man, you obviously break rules. All of them do. Every last one. And so the true test of whether you're a great man or not is basically two things. One, whether you're right or not. And two, whether you win or not. Winning is great. You survive. Your enemies don't kill you. But that doesn't make you right. And that's what happened with the Soviet Union. They won, but they were fundamentally wrong about everything. And so 80 years later, they died. Because they were wrong. Because just like modern day progressives, they believed in this utopian ideal that did not exist. This is how Lysenkoism starved millions of people. Believing that plants can be communist. It's fucking so retarded. And that's what, like I said, that's what the progs do. They deny reality, they deny science, and the way they get science on their side is they have people who believe what they believe, brown nose their way into the institutions, and when they have the institutional power, then they have those institutions parrot what they say, even if it makes no goddamn sense. How can you get a medical institution to say that trans women are women? Fill the medical institution with progs or enough of them to where you will get fired if you speak out against them. That's how you do it. And any institution that is not feminized or not taken over by progs doesn't have that problem. Strange goal, to be honest. Yes, but it's part of their religion, right? They believe utopia is on the other side of your corpse. And that to get to utopia, they must brown nose their way through all the institutions. This is a Gramscian idea. That they must subvert all the institutions to the religion. Or they wouldn't say religion, they would say ideology. But it is a religion. Because they believe things that cannot be verified to be true. And they take them on faith rather than evidence. So it is a religion. Just because it isn't codified as one, it is a religion. Because it's not like they're an ideology, and then once their ideology confronts a little bit of reality, okay, they alter the ideology a little bit to more conform with reality. They don't give a fuck about reality, dude. Bell Hooks said it 60 years ago. It's fucking true, dude. Simple as. And I'm not lying. She states in her book, the West is a white supremacist patriarchy, but literally offers zero evidence as to why, or even makes an argument as to why it is so. She simply states it as a fact, moves on, and talks about the consequences thereof and how to fix it. Real trans people seem to hate them. Yes, the trans activists are the worst things that has happened to the trans community since forever. Because at least before all this, nobody really gave a fuck or even thought about them. And if you passed, no one would say a word. And so, because everything is subordinate to the religion, this is why they can't make art. This is why they can't govern. Because everything is subordinate to it. This is why Ketanji Brown Jackson, one of our Supreme Court justices, doesn't know what the fuck a woman is because, and I quote, "I'm not a biologist." End quote. See, if she were smart, that's not what she would have said. You don't have to answer the question. But because she's a religious zealot and a dumbass, there was no other way for her to respond because of her religious fervor. Because if you weren't stupid, What you would say is, that's a political question. You're asking me for that for a political reason, and no matter how much you justify it, I'm not going to fucking answer the question. You don't have to say fucking, of course. You just refuse to answer. You don't beat around the bush and tell people why it's not. No, because that's one of the reasons why progs look so fucking crazy. You're asked what a woman is and you can't answer the question? To a normie, that looks insane. Insane, dude. Beyond insane. Because it's not like you're asking something about the economy that they can't parse. You're asking something about space or science or tech, and they can't really understand about it because of the esoteric language that is developed, or, there's nothing about medicine or anything about the government. This is fundamental, something we experience every motherfucking day. Every fucking human experiences their sex, their gender, and their place in society based on that every fucking day of their lives. Every interaction with humans they have, every interaction with children, every interaction with the opposite sex, with the same sex. Everybody knows. If you ask somebody from the United States of America who's a fucking billionaire to the poorest son of a bitch in the Amazon jungle, they know. Both of them do. Exactly what that is. How it affects them and what it means. Where the boundaries are and where the boundaries aren't. They might have different cultural interpretations. But fundamentally, it is the same thing. And we all know because it's fundamental to what it is to be human. And so when you have someone who is so fucking educated, they can't answer a question that is so simple that children can answer it, that actual mouth-drooling retards can answer it, that if you ask someone who is a bushman in Africa, who exists in one of the undiscovered tribes in the Amazon, if you ask them this question, they'll be able to answer it. What is a woman? Oh, that over there. It's the one without the penis and with the big things on the chest. Adult. Big. Not the small one. And so, see, this is what I'm saying. It's like, this is why I say it's a religion. It's because the same with Christians who are so stupid. They cannot answer questions that you ask them about their religion in an honest, forthright manner because they're stupid. Because what they think is that saying the thing that I want them to say will make them look bad. And that's not always the case. That's not always the case. And instead of deflecting, you refuse to answer. That's the trick. You don't deflect, you simply refuse. That's the difference. You don't say, oh, I don't know what a woman is, or nobody can really know, or any of this other dumbass nonsense. You don't do that at all. You go, you are asking me that for political reasons, and I'm not going to answer you. I'm not going to be pulled into this trap, and I'm not going to disrespect this place with such nonsense. And then when they ask you again, you go, I refuse to answer the question. And then you don't say anything else until somebody asks another question. Because all they can do then is go, let the record show, subject refuse to answer question. You've given your reasons why you're not going to answer it, and don't answer it. It's that simple. It looks so much better to everyone. The people that hate you are going to still hate you. But the people that are normies who don't hate you, they're going to look at you and be like, all right, well, I mean, it's a simple question, but, I can kind of understand why she said it. She thought it was political and they were doing some stupid shit. You got to think like a normie, right? You go, yeah, she said they were asking it for political reasons. I can see why she would say that. Yeah, they do stupid shit like that. You know they do. They play funny games. And then it's excused. But instead of that, you have some stupid fucking bitch sitting there pretending like she doesn't know what a fucking woman is because she's a crazy religious zealot. She's a nutball. She might as well say the earth is fucking flat and exists on top of a goddamn turtle shell. That the earth fucking is the center of the universe and the sun revolves around it. To have a person in such a high place in society that is so possessed by the demon of ignorance is a shame. It's shameful to all of us. Every last one. You sound just like my doctor. That's funny. Anyway, so, damn, I've been ranting for almost 2 hours now. That's great. I need a cough drop. My throat is killing me. I was debating on whether to do some Diablo or not. I think we might not. My throat is not feeling so hot. We'll sit. Since I've been ranting and not reading, I'll sit and chill for another minute or two. Few minutes. It's I don't know, man. Tell you what else I've been getting into lately. Heroes of the Storm. I don't know if you know about that game. That came out like 10 years ago, and then Blizzard abandoned it. And then just recently, they started releasing updates for it again. And in case you don't know what it is, it's a MOBA. Team-based MOBA. And I'm going retro heroes. Nice. Are you talking about Heroes of Might and Magic? You are Heroes of Might and Magic. There you go. Nice. GG. I played 3 like a motherfucker, dude. It was great. I haven't really liked any of the others, though. Well, you know, my argument was that if God hadn't hardened the Pharaoh's heart, then he most likely would have let Moses go, and the plagues would not have been visited upon Egypt. Right? So directly speaking, it's not the Pharaoh's fault that the plagues got sent to Egypt. It's not his fault that his son died. If God had not hardened his heart, then none of that shit would have happened. Maybe something worse would have happened, but we don't know that. It doesn't say that. God didn't tell us that. I mean, and so therefore to assume that it would have is basically circular logic, right? You're assuming that because God is good and light and all that other stuff, that of course something worse would have happened if he hadn't done that. But you're basing that on the assumption that God told you he is the Alpha and the Omega and is the best thing in the world and the good and the light and the way and all that stuff. But if that weren't true, then this would be all fucked up. But the only reason you think it's not fucked up is because you think the other thing is true. You always make a claim to yes, that's it. It's okay for the text wall. It's no big deal. It's not that big. It's not that bad. Especially since we're just fucking chilling and talking and whatnot. So, I gotta admit, I love ranting about politics. Maybe that's what I should do instead. It's just fucking rant. I remember, what was it, last year around this time, I tried to get into making political videos, and it killed me, man. There's like a lot of things. I don't know what it is about I don't know what it is about trying to do new things on Twitch or on YouTube. I'll get to it in just a second, man. But I get these blocks that just fuck me up, and I can't go on, right? After I think when I was in about 2 or 3 weeks of making videos every day on politics, setting them up, doing all the stuff, I woke up one day and I was like, it was just stressing me the fuck out. I felt like an idiot all the time. I didn't know what the fuck was wrong with me, and I had to stop. It was just making me feel all kinds of fucked up. But it's not like it was being involved in politics. You know, it's not like about learning about the politics. It was the stress of having to talk about it every single day and make videos, multiple videos, and cutting up my streams and all the time. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it just blows my mind. Like, I remember, dude, I can take apart electric motors, engines, gigantic fucking steam turbines, and I'm fine. I've stood next to nuclear reactors. I've fucking did all kinds of crazy, dangerous shit, and it's fine. Making videos on the internet stresses me the fuck out, dude. Fuck is wrong with me, man? Especially considering it's not like being in front of the camera is the stress. Look at me now. I'm fine. I'm having a great time. This is great. Actually, I'm actually having a great time. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I haven't been streaming as many games is because Rogue Trader just stopped being fun, and I was forcing myself to do it. It was the same with XCOM. And I don't know. I guess a lot of it is I don't think content is good if I'm forcing myself to do it. I can't make it fun for myself or the camera. So, God is empowered to kill man because he is the creator of man. I don't directly accept that argument, but sure. Man is not empowered to kill, for a man is not the origin of man. Unless, of course, God empowers man to do so, for God is not a hypocrisy to kill because he belongs to a different sphere of mode of existence. You will not put a wolf on trial for killing a sheep because an animal... That's a very good argument. That's a very good argument. You would not put a wolf on trial for killing a sheep because an animal is in a different mode of existence. That's correct. It's the same. That's the same fucking logic we use against PETA for animals, which I agree with, by the way. There is a tier list, and most of that tier list is based on cultural preference, but it's still a tier list. And there are many people who would still eat a dog. They're just not going to eat their dog. They're not going to eat your dog, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't eat a dog or a cat, just not your cat or my cat or their cat. A lot of people have cows for pets. A lot of people have chickens for pets. A lot of people have chickens for pets, and they still fucking eat them. What do you think farmers did? Anyway, but yeah, that's a great argument. Absolutely. God in that conception is above man, and as an animal is below man. Therefore, furthermore, the earthly life is of little relative compared to the life of the soul. I don't like that line of thinking, but I understand it. The issue arises when people come to do the moral calculus with an outside moral framework. God will appear cruel to people with an external moral framework. However, to proclaim that I believe in cruel God is just incorrect. For the destruction of the body by God's hand is not a cruelty if the framework is taken as whole. Just like it's not cruelty for a predator to eat their prey. Correct. Even though cats do play with their prey often and are very torturous and cruel, that does not make the act of the predation cruel in and of itself. I would agree with that. But I don't necessarily agree about that with God to man, per se, because there's a lot of things that I do make that argument to my wife a lot, that if I did what God does, I would be condemned as immoral. But God does it, and it's fine. How is that moral? If God does exist and he came before me and demanded my obedience and for me to kneel before him, why would I do so? For what reason? Damnation? Threat. You're threatening me. So that's power. So at the bottom of even God, it's violence. That's really what it feels like. And so if the threat of destruction is all I have, that's not a motivation. Do you know what I mean? Because what do I get? If I go to heaven, what happens? I get to live in the light of God. I don't know what the fuck that means. All I know is it sounds boring as fuck. I know that's insulting, but you gotta think about, if it's supposed to be a reward punishment structure, it needs to be rewarding. So, okay. Some may retort that they would be right to kill me if value of earthly life is so minute, but they would be wrong, for they, unlike God, cannot claim ownership. This brings us to the Ten Commandments. Although we often conceive as theft being lesser than murder, in truth, the breach of each commandment is equally serious. Agreed. I actually agree with that. For what is murder but the theft against God? The fact that courts of man will treat the offense differently is wholly irrelevant. I agree. When it comes to civilizational creation, I agree that all of them are equally as bad for the whole of creation. Agreed. But unfortunately, humans are simple creatures and we view things through a hierarchical lens, and therefore we must put them into hierarchies and so on and so forth. I'm personally against imprisoning people for life for murder. I think we should kill them after perhaps 10, 20 years of forced labor. Another factor that many overlook is how often God's followers were reduced to just a few people, and that it is after those events God takes decisive action. Fair enough. Oh, no. The whole innocence might be killed. No. I agree. Doesn't matter. That's what's best. Seriously. Did you miss the part where I said 10 to 20 years of forced labor? You know what I'm saying? And you also got to remember that the further we get into the future, the easier it is going to be to determine who actually committed crime. We don't live in the 17th century anymore. We don't live in the 18th century. We don't live in the 19th. We don't even live in the 20th century anymore. There are fucking cameras everywhere. If you commit a crime, somebody probably caught you doing it on camera. And if they didn't catch you doing it on camera, guess what else they caught you doing? They caught your cell phone there. They caught you fucking one of your electronic devices, touch the network somewhere. They'll find it. They'll find you. They'll use grass. They'll use dirt. They'll use tech. They'll use whatever the fuck they can. They'll figure it out. Just like they did with that fucking streamer / YouTuber who killed a girl and then uploaded a pre-recorded stream. Religion and politics often make people lose perspective. They give way to ranting and raving and acting like emotional children. True. They refuse to discuss it with reason or prefer argumentation ad hominem, argumentium ad hominem. And not only that, like this is exactly what I was talking about when it comes to homosexuality being a sexual dysfunction, and that we should seek to be able to treat it as a sexual dysfunction, and we don't. Why? Because people are acting like emotional children when it comes to homosexuality. They prefer to scream and rant and rave about how much of a homophobe I would be or any other fucking nonsense rather than address the claims that I'm making or address the logic that I am trying to follow based on all the other shit. Is the guy who couldn't afford another child and the doctor he went to for an illegal abortion killed her? When he went for an illegal abortion, killed her, then he didn't want the doctor to be harmed and said it. Oh, I see what you're saying. He thought he helped him. I gotcha. I don't know why you brought that up. Are you talking about in the case of putting people in camps and working them and then killing them once they're not useful anymore? For being fucking scabs on society? I mean, if you murder someone, I think that's pretty bad. That's not a false death penalty. They both deserve to die. I think abortion is murder. I am an atheist who does not agree with abortion. I think it should be safe, legal, and rare for when it is necessary. Ectopic pregnancies, there's other conditions that require what we would call abortions. And, you know, if the baby is going to fucking kill you, and especially if you've got other kids, you got to make hard choices, right? That's reality. You can do everything right and still lose. So that's life. I do not. We don't know when consciousness comes about. We know that the brain starts to be mostly formed anywhere between, 18 and 22 weeks. So, but do you or do you not value human life? Especially innocent life. And if the answer is yes, then you must protect the unborn because they are the most innocent. Right? Just because I want to kill murderers and rapists doesn't mean I don't value human life. My problem is they don't value human life. And if they don't value human life, then I cannot value theirs because it's not worth valuing, because they will seek to destroy everything that I want the world to be. These are people that are my mortal enemies, and I must treat them as such. I understand that Jesus wants to forgive everybody. I do forgive them. I forgive them for their sins against us, but that doesn't mean that they can't forego punishment. Even Jesus believed in executing murderers. I value a mother's life over their fetus that is not built yet. I agree, which is why if the fetus is going to kill you, then you should be able to terminate the pregnancy. I 100% agree with that. That's just how life is. That's life. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I am talking about elective abortions, which 90+% of them are. Like, I'm not even really cool with economic reasons, because I do think we should do more. I've come around to being more pro, social programs, especially for like mothers and children and such like that. But I think we should, we should do several things because the system right now is really fucked up. 1, get rid of all the illegals. 2, get rid of most of the legals. 3, you increase the threshold for welfare so that the magic area between 35 grand and like 70 grand that a lot of people exist in that sucks ass doesn't exist anymore. Because you make so much money, you can't actually get help, but you don't actually make enough money to live a decent life or to lead a somewhat not sucky life, right? And so you're making $40,000 a year trying to, raise 2 kids, and you're worse off than somebody who doesn't work at all, right? Because they get so much benefits. Their kids are taken care of because of medical stuff that gives them by the state. They get free food, free housing, yada, yada, yada. But you have a decent job as a plumber, and now you're sucking ass all day because you don't make, you barely make enough money, and you want your wife to stay home and raise the kids. So, you suck it up, you work all that overtime. Luckily, we don't have no taxes on overtime now. But it's stuff like that where there's the incentive to do the right thing isn't there. And so if we're going to have welfare systems, what you don't want to do is you don't want to incentivize people to be on welfare, which is what you do. Like, it boggled my mind when I was young that, especially when the government was shut down, my mom wouldn't get paid because she was a VA nurse. And so she had a fucking mortgage. And so when they shut the government down, we went 3 months without her getting a paycheck. Watching her cry on the phone to the mortgage company talking about, I don't have any money because I haven't gotten paid in 3 months, isn't fun when you're 5. And knowing that the literal pieces of shit that live down from me from the street get free food, free healthcare, and free all shit because they live in the gutter just made me so angry. Especially when it wasn't like, we didn't need it all the time, we just need it now. Because she didn't get paid enough. But because she made so much money last year, she doesn't qualify. And because when the government stopped being shut down, she was going to get a fat paycheck. It would mean we wouldn't qualify next year either. And it made me real fucking resentful to the welfare system because I'm going to tell you right now, the reason I call them pieces of shit, it's not the kids that were pieces of shit, it was the parents that were pieces of shit. Because they didn't want to work and they were fucking lazy. They were pieces of shit. They spent too much of their money on fucking cigarettes and drugs and alcohol and not enough on their fucking children, not enough on their fucking home, and not enough on their fucking food. And not enough improving their lives. And I don't know if it was because they're stupid or not, but what I do know is that if they had a higher cap on welfare system to the point where it would have given my mom a little bit of money, everything would have been so much better for us. And you say, and it's like, Well, that sounds fucked up because you didn't need it most of the time. It's like, you're right. But you know what else happens? Think about people that made less than my mom. My mom made pretty good money being a single mom working as a nurse at the VA. She was able to afford a house and me and food and all that shit. Daycare. But now imagine you have a shitty job. But you're making more than above the poverty line. Well, guess what that means? You get no food stamps. You get no medical credits. You get none of that shit. So what's the incentive for working hard at a job like that? Why would you even get a job like that? Why not just go get a job at McDonald's and then get food stamps? You got to work anyway. Why not? Why go through the trouble of doing all the hard shit when you could just fuck off and be at McDonald's? And it's just like whatever. And then you get all kinds of shit from the government. And if you're poor, guess what happens? You get free medical care. Oh, you don't believe me? What happens if you go to a hospital in the emergency room and say, there's something fucking wrong with me, help me? They're legally not allowed to turn you away. You know what else they're not legally allowed to do? Hold you there until you pay. So they give you a bill and you tell them you can't pay right now. So they give you a bill, you set up a payment plan, and then you never pay it. What happens? They write it off as medical debt. Everybody else pays for it. That's exactly what the illegals do. They all go to the emergency room. They all get free medical care. And in many places in the United States of America, they actually have programs for illegal aliens to be on welfare for medical. Oh, okay, you're answering that. Got it. Yeah, he was just being facetious. Come on now. He stuck his tongue out at you. I was like, where the fuck are you going with this? I was like, oh, you're replying to him. Dizzle, what's up, dude? How you doing? Thanks for the follow, man. On Kick, no less. Welcome, welcome. So, but yeah, so what was it? Fuck, that made me lose where I was. See, we were on the gotta respect the tism, exactly. We were on abortion, and it went to safe, legal, rare, innocence. So yeah, so in my perfect world, abortion would not be illegal, but it would be highly regulated. And it would be specifically for medical conditions that threaten the life of the mother, yada, yada, so on and so forth. And if you got an abortion, the doctor is to be executed and the woman is to be jailed for the rest of her natural life. That's what I would want. And what that would do is it would create a incentive structure to prevent this. Because if you're a doctor and you do it, you're dead. And if you're a woman and you do it, you get to work for the rest of your life for everybody else and do nothing but that. You get to live in hell. And that's the way it should be. Because you should not be killing the most innocent among us. Unless it is absolutely necessary. Just like it was absolutely necessary for Winston Churchill to ignore the message from Nazi Germany that they were going to bomb this fucking city. He didn't tell those people to evacuate. He didn't tell them shit. He let the Nazis do it. Why? Well, because he wanted to win the fucking war. That's why. And if he had told the Nazis by telling everybody in the town to evacuate or go into their bunkers, the Nazis would have realized that they knew the attack was coming. How would they? And if they knew the attack was coming, that means their fucking encryption shit would have been broken and they would have changed it. Essentially, damning them to potentially losing the war. So it's not as if sacrificing the life of the innocent isn't necessary sometimes. It is. And that sucks for the innocent. It does. Just like it sucks for the innocent that may be killed if they are falsely accused and falsely executed for crimes. This has been this way forever. And it is only up until modern times that we can be even more sure now than we ever have been that someone committed such a heinous crime. Because a lot of times now you're going to have it on camera. You're going to have your phone with you. You're going to have this or that. And it's not just eyewitnesses that we have to depend on. And so for that, like, it's like, not only is the amount of innocent people going to be lower, but it doesn't matter if they're innocent people who are going to get hurt. What matters is society as a whole. There is no system you're going to be able to develop that is not going to hurt the innocent. There will always be an innocent that will be hurt, no matter what the system is. So the best thing to do is to make a system that hurts as few innocents as possible by creating an incentive structure that keeps the non-innocent in check. Because if you keep the non-innocent in check, the people who would commit the crimes, because a lot of them won't because of the severity of them, and the ones that do will then be removed from the general population. Because either they're too stupid to control themselves, or they lack that self-control in general. And they neither need or deserve to be in society when everybody else will be oppressed by them. Because that's what happens in every place else. That's what happens in Somalia and Somaliland. That's what happens in all these PvP servers across the planet. It's that there is no centralized authority that suppresses the oppressors. Why do we have a safe, relatively clean, relatively safe society in the United States of America? Because the government oppresses criminals. What happens if you don't oppress criminals? Look at LA. Look at San Francisco. Look at Chicago. Look at Washington, D.C. Look at New York City. Look at Somalia. Look at Somaliland. Look at any place that is a fucking hellhole PvP server. And that's where you do not have a centralized authority oppressing criminals. Think about this. Almost, was it 90% of the crime is committed by like 50% of the criminals? So if you kept those 50% of the criminals in a box forever, you'd eliminate 90% of the crime. Think about that, dude. 90%. 90%. If you just locked them in a box or got rid of them in any other way, almost all crime would disappear. Think about how much money we'd save. Think about how many lives we'd save. It is one of those things. It's like, I understand that people want to think about the life of the person who's being charged with the crime. I get that. But often nowadays we know who committed the crime. And what we're not thinking about is the people that were oppressed by the criminal. The person who was murdered, the person who was stolen from, they are being oppressed by this person. And if you let them go, they will continue to oppress more people. They will go on to hurt and oppress more individuals. There will be more overall oppression in the world than if you were just to oppress the criminal. That is just. And another is that if they require continual oppression for the rest of their days because they cannot or refuse to control themselves, then why, when they cease to be useful, would we not just get rid of them? They're animals. All humans are animals. All humans are great apes. Black, white, brown, red, yellow, doesn't matter what race you are, we're all apes. Okay? We're all animals. Some of us can act civilized, and we choose to do so. And that is why we were able to build all of this. But if you choose to not, or you are unable to do so, then why should the rest of us have to put up with your ass? Especially if you're choosing not to, rather than you're unable to. I am fully on board with taking people who are mentally retarded and putting them in a nice, soft, gilded box, okay? So they can live their life comfortably and enjoy whatever they can out of it. I'm fully willing to put my tax dollars toward these people, right? We owe them a blood debt. their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents, their aunts, their uncles, they all lived in our society. They all paid their fucking taxes. Many of them joined the military. Many of them died in service of this nation. We owe them a blood debt to take care of their children, even if they're too stupid to take care of themselves. We do. I believe that because I want my kids, I want my grandkids to be taken care of if they can't. And so I do the same. Just like I think having a patriarchal society where men in general protect women in general in public should be the norm. Because I don't want my wife harassed or assaulted in public. I don't want my children, my little girl, to be assaulted and harassed in public. To be sexualized by a grown man in public and nothing happen? Are you fucking kidding me? Mercy upon the guilty is cruelty upon the innocent. And I agree in general with that. The only mercy, in my opinion, that should be measured upon the guilty is that when we execute them, it shouldn't be overly bad unless they are overly bad. If you're a fucking psycho and you do psycho things and you're just like, yeah, I'm a fucking psycho, man. That's just the way it is. It's like, all right, just, do it as quickly as possible. But if you're Jeffrey Dahmer, I think flaying should be on the table. If you're a child molester, I think the wood chipper on slow feet first with flaying should be on the table, right? But if you're just a gangbanger, you're a robber, you're a gangster, you know it's wrong, but you do it anyway, but you're not overly cruel, you're not malicious, you don't fucking go out of your way to kill people, you don't fuck with kids. Like, why be mean? That we should show mercy when you, or at least a civilized criminal, if you understand what I mean. There are plenty of criminals who break the rules that are civilized. We all know it to be true, right? We all know it to be true. That there's the trope of the thief on the stand. It's like, I'm a thief, not a murderer. Yeah, we all know it to be true. It's a trope for a reason. Off topic with this question, but I don't know answer right now. But do you have some advice for young folk growing up in today's world? Dizzle, yeah. It depends if you're a dude. It's funny because it's like the last thing you should be doing is, how should I put this? The last thing you should be doing is emulating men like Clavicular. However, he is right. Looks maxing will definitely make your life better in the short term. It will definitely get you chicks in the short term. It might even make you popular in the short term. But if you don't have the genetics to look like him, then no matter how much looks maxing you do, it's not going to make you be him. It's the same with somebody like Andrew Tate. Is everything he says bad? No. Is some of the shit that he says funny? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's really funny. Men should carry swords more. That was a great one. Top keck. That doesn't mean he isn't a piece of shit. And the biggest advice that I can give you is that no matter where you take, or anybody, is that no matter where you get your shit from, is always take it with a grain of salt and never think these people are heroes. Anybody you see on this screen is not a fucking hero. Almost all of them are depraved human beings. Fallen creatures subject to the same temptations, the same shortcomings that you are. Like Andrew Tate, for instance. He is, in fact, or excuse me, let me rephrase. If you go back in the Wayback Machine and you look up videos of him, he will teach you how to get girls to hook for you. He will teach you how to emotionally manipulate them so that you can degrade them. He will teach you how to find the girls who have very bad relationships with their father or family in general. He will teach you how to manipulate them, how to oppress them, how to violently keep them in line, how to manipulate their emotions, how to use other women to manipulate their emotions to hook for you or to do online content for you. He did this. This makes him a bad person. If you want to take his advice on weightlifting, I don't care. But you should know who you're dealing with. We all think Genghis Khan is a great guy, but you'll never hear most dudes say that everything he did was great. And the fact that some cities would have thousands of women throw themselves off the walls when they heard Genghis Khan was coming their way is not a shining endorsement. The biggest thing is that you are being discriminated against, especially if you're white and male. If you're male in general, you are being discriminated against systematically in the West by your own government, by your own people. They are discriminating against you because people in the past were discriminated against. And they believe that the only way to correct that is to hurt you because other people in the past were hurt. Now, you must realize these people are idiots. They are religious idiots, and they are dangerous. And so the only reason that, or excuse me, so, and so they, I forgot where I was. Fucking Joker making me laugh. Nazis promoted exercise, but it does not make exercise bad. This is true. This is very true. It's just like with anything. No, you're fine, dude. It was good. It was a great one. It was a great one. It just made me lose my train of thought. Because I do this thing where I rant. But it's you need to be aware of all the things that some of these motherfuckers that are popular to young people say. And here's the thing. I know you're not going to give a fuck. I'm an old guy with gray hair. What the fuck do I know, right? Well, I used to be you. And I did all the things that you want to do. You want to go out and be a whore and fuck all the women in the world and drink and smoke and do drugs and have a great time and party? I did all that shit. All that shit Clavicular is doing right now, I did it. Yeah. I was in the military. I became a fucking slut, baby. Oh, God. It was fun. It was really fun. Cigars, alcohol, pretty women. I mean, to be fair, it wasn't as pretty as his women. And, you know, he's making a lot more money than I did, but that's not the point. The point is that I'm attractive enough to where I was able to use my pretty privilege and my square fucking jaw to get a lot of tail. And what I will tell you is that, was it fun? Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Would I do it again? Not as much, no. Some, yes. The only thing I would do different is I would temper. That's it. I would practice more temperance. If I could go back and do it all over, I would do some of it, but not all of it. And so I can't tell you that it's not going to be fun. I can't tell you that you shouldn't try. What I can tell you is that it's not going to bring you contentment. It's not going to bring you happiness. It's not going to make you feel fulfilled. It's not going to bring you love or joy. It's not going to do any of those things. It's fun. That's it. But guess what, dude? If you do a fun thing enough times, it stops being fun. Sex hasn't stopped being fun yet. But just fucking random chicks, that definitely got old. It definitely did. Especially all the work that's required to be put into it. That got real fucking old. So if you are going to be a slut, if you are going to be a whore, if you are going to do any of this stuff, just be aware that it is likely to destroy you. So don't blame anybody else when it does. It's your life. Live it how you want. But when you fuck it up because you're doing all the things that people say you probably shouldn't, that's on you. That's not because the system was discriminating against you. Nope. That's you choosing. Choose wisely. What's up, Flamin'? How you doing, bud? Good to see you, baby. Good to see you. And I keep hearing about how the dating world is all fucked up, and I bet it is with all the stuff that's going on in the world. dating apps and all that other shit. And that, you know, the younger generations are having less sex than ever and all this other nonsense. And, you know, one of the reasons that I think this is the case is not just because of fucked up bullshit with people. I think a lot of it has to do with social media and the internet. And that you'll get made fun of for buying flowers and taking them to a girl. Every hater on the planet has a phone. And every hater on the planet will take a picture of you and post it and make fun of you for it. You can't be romantic. You can't be flirtatious. You can't do any of these things because you might be the next fucking viral sensation that ruins your life. That's scary shit. And it just goes to show you how many people are naturally cowards. Kind of crazy, ain't it? You wonder why you have twice as many female ancestors as you do male ancestors? It's because virtue, specifically courage, is forged. It is built. It is not inherited. It is not in your bloodstream. So if you want to be that type of man, if you want to get the girl, you got to be a hero. Oh, you're going to get made fun of online? So what? Do you really care about what a bunch of other dumb fucking apes say about you or think about you? Imagine this. Imagine that other people think about you about as much as you think about them. Think about that random person you saw on the bus 2 weeks ago that was all fucked up looking and really funny. How often do you think about that person? Oh, this is only the second time that you've thought about them since then? That's about right. So it doesn't matter how stupid you look. Doesn't matter how fucking retarded you act. No one cares, dude. People are going to make fun of you anyway. So here's the deal. If you want to live your life and have fun and do all kinds of other things, you got to be cringe. Because haters are going to say you're cringe. That's just the way it is. Doing things is cringe. Being important is cringe. Being a hero is cringe. That's what everybody will say until you're there. Exact opposite. We've evolved to see faces and everything to stay alive. People hate other people for succeeding because it reminds them how bad their life is. That's another thing. Yep, that's true. What do you mean exact opposite? We have evolved to see faces and everything to stay alive. Yes, of course we have. What does that have to do with anything? I don't understand. Which one? Who you're talking to? To be brave is to forged. Yeah. What does evolve to see faces in the bush have anything to do with being brave? Being courageous has nothing to do with running away from predators or spotting predators. Being courageous has everything to do with the ability to endure difficulties, to resist fear, and endeavor at doing good, even in the face of danger or sacrifice. That has nothing to do with evolving to see faces and everything to stay alive. Nor does it have to do with anything else that we are discussing necessarily. Not that I'm not trying to shit on you. I'm sorry. I said that very fucked up. Rewind that. Being courageous is about the ability to resist difficulties, endure difficulties, resist fear, and to endeavor at doing good even in the face of danger or sacrifice. And so when I say that courage is forged, that bravery is forged, that's what I mean. You are not brave by default. You may be stupid, which may be confused with bravery, because if you're brash, that is confused with bravery, right? It's confused with courage, brashness. But brashness also leads to stupidity, because a truly courageous person has the ability to discern between what is stupid and what is crazy. Or excuse me, but has the ability to determine what is stupid and foolhardy and what is courageous and right. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the capacity to overcome. True, but that has nothing to do with seeing faces in everything to stay alive. That's why I don't understand why you would say the exact opposite and then use that as an example of why. And you're both right, but it actually goes, courage is not the absence of fear, but it's doing the thing you know you're supposed to do, even in the face of that fear. People who are screwed over by dating apps are already miserable in the dating market? Usually, yes. And it sure got exacerbated? Yes. And a lot of it also is, it's also not that they were screwed up before dating apps. It actually, I think it also has to do with this more psychosis thing that we have going on, where thinking that your life sucks makes your life suck, right? So if you are trapped in a really shitty position in life, you don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, it makes it worse, and it keeps you stuck there. And I think that's what's going on in dating apps, is every dude knows that they are not the top 10% of dudes. And so they all know that all the women are picking the top 10% of dudes, and all the women are getting run through by all the top 10% of dudes, and none of them are actually looking for relationships with everybody else. And so that screws up their head, when what they really need to be doing is not using dating apps at all, period. Ever. Not necessarily, but not the way we do use them currently. That's just like, I remember I actually met a few women on dating apps, but they were the websites, not actual apps for sex. Adult Friend Finder. What was the other one? I can't remember what the other ones were. And they were fine, but they didn't have this algorithm of swipe left, swipe right, right? It was all like, they were like Facebook profiles and stuff like that. And, it worked out fine. I was able to hook up and stuff, and a lot of dudes were. It wasn't really that big of a deal, but it's because the trend hadn't gotten on yet, and there wasn't a lot of people there wasn't a lot of fish in the pond, as it were. Dating apps are for hookup culture, correct. But talking to a woman in normal parlance is hard too, because you have the refrigerator problem. Every time you walk up into a woman to talk to her, especially if there's other women around her, this giant refrigerator bitch comes out of nowhere and be like, no, she doesn't want to talk to you. And you also have the viral component where you don't know if this woman is actually a malicious bitch, and because all the worst they could do is say is no. Everybody knows that's not true. There's a lot worse things. So, you get a wife by searching for a woman in search of a husband, correct? Not a woman who's just looking to screw. Exactly. And so that's a great way to put it. If you are a young man, the best thing you could do is get married and have kids. And all you got to do, and I'm not saying all you got to do, but the best way to front load that and screen out all the bitches that'll fuck you over for the rest of your life, for the most part, is to upfront say, I'm looking for a wife who wants to have kids with me. Then all the fucking crazy bitches who just want to fuck hot guys, they'll go on about their business. You won't need to interface with them at all or anything. And you might actually be able to find you a wholesome woman. Like, let's be real, she's probably not going to be a fucking 9 out of 10, but that's irrelevant. If you can't settle down with a woman who's as attractive as you are or slightly worse, then you don't deserve to breed. Just like if you can't protect your family, you don't deserve to have one. You are a man. You should be able to lift heavy things. You should be able to push heavy things. You should be able to at least fight a little bit, if for no other reason than to buy your time family to escape while you sacrifice yourself. Because that is your role. You are a man. Do you want to be a man, or do you want to be a boy? And I think a lot of that is, it really boils down to, we just don't preach to boys and give them the structure that they need when they're young the way they should have. And I can understand why so many of them are lost. We don't teach about true virtue anymore. We don't teach about courage or any of that other shit, right? And so you grow up being this just atomized boy, and then you grow up to be an adult who is a boy, and a child, an emotional child, rather than an actual man. And the difference between a man and a male who is a grown male, the difference between those two things is that men take on the responsibility of the world and carry it as a burden, especially for those they love and care about. If you do not do that, you are not a man. If you do not take upon yourself the responsibility of the world, at least when it concerns your loved ones, you are not a man. You are a grown male. This is the one fundament that all men share. That is the performative aspect of being a man. Honor and duty, yes. This is why, as a patriarch, you have... I'm a dictator, dude. I rule this fucking house. My wife knows it. My kids know it. But you know what I'd never do? I never say it out loud like that. I never hold it over their heads. And I never use it against them. The reason that I can rule as a tyrant is through their acquiescence. They allow me to do it. My wife allows me to do it. She could ignore me, right? And that's when violence would be needed. We don't need to do that, because we love and understand one another, and she knows that if I ever come up to her and I give her an order, she's going to follow it, because I never give her orders, ever. Even when that's not true. I do on occasion, but it's usually in jest and it's funny, and that's what it's for. Dictator, yeah, I got you. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just like with my kids. Like, there have been many times where I've had to get my children's attention with a loud voice and give them a command to do something because they were about to do something dangerous. And especially my daughter, who can communicate. My son really can't. My daughter, she will, if I tell her to do something, she might give me gruff about it, but especially if I do it in the this is dad talking and I need no argument, she'll do it. Mostly without question. She might complain about it while she's doing it, but she's going to do it. And the reason that I get this obedience from my wife and from my children is because I never demand it. I never demand them be obedient to me, because I don't have to demand them being obedient. Because I can use logic and reason to be like, hey, I think that thing you're doing is wrong, and here's why. I think you should do it this way, and here's why. What do you think about that? And when I approach my daughter that way, when I have to give her an order, be like, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do it right now, she just does it because she trusts me. She trusts that I have her best interest at heart, because I have proven time and time and time and time again, when it really matters, I do. Because when we have the time for me to logic it out for her, I do. Even when she doesn't want to. Yeah, trusting with small things. You establish your wisdom. Exactly. And so it's essentially like, and there are many times where I say, I think you should do this. If you don't want to do that, fine, you go ahead. It's your choice. You can do what you want. This is what I think you should do because it's the right thing. But if you don't want to do that, I'm not going to make you. And dude, I tell you what, dude, there's so many times when I've done that and she's chosen the right thing, and I've been so proud. I've been so fucking proud. But it's because I give her the choice. I don't demand it. I let her make the mistakes. I let her suffer the consequences, as she knows there are consequences if she fails. And it's the same with my wife. She's a grown woman, so I don't have to treat her like a child, obviously. But it's the same thing. My wife trusts me because I never, ever, ever abuse her. Emotionally or physically. I never make demands of her that are untoward, that are too much, that are fucked up. I don't gaslight her. I definitely definitely don't lie. I never lie to her. Ever. I tell her the truth even when it sucks. And she knows that. The only time we hide, like, here, this is the funny thing. We never hide from one another anything. So she comes in and I'm closing a web page and she just happens to walk in at the same time. I will literally, before she even asks, reopen it, go to my history, click on it and show it to her. Be like, hey, I was on this. And she's like, oh, it's whatever. And the reason is because I never, ever, 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 ever want to give her the ability or reason to doubt that she can trust me. And it's the same with her. Like there are times when we're doing stuff and we angle our phones ever so slightly so the other can't see, but the other notices and like, why are you doing that? That looks sus. And we have to be like, I'm getting you a surprise. And like, oh, okay. That's the only time we're allowed to keep secrets from one another. But it has to be, I'm getting a surprise for you, or it's for your birthday or whatever, any of that nonsense, right? That's it. And that's just so we can keep surprises. But everything else, it's like, what are you doing? Oh, here, you want to see my phone? Here you go. I just hand her my phone. She'll hand me her phone. Can I get into her phone? I just walk up to it and grab it and open it. Yep, she'll let me. She won't say a word about it. Same with mine. I know her combo. She knows mine. We trust. It's that simple. And the reason we trust is because we don't give any reason not to. There's never a day that she's going to doubt her trust in me and I'm not going to immediately fix that. Oh, I did something that looks sus here. Let me explain it to you. I'll explain it to you in excruciating detail. What you want to ask me questions about it? Go ahead. I'll tell you anything you want to know. The moment you start being defensive, the moment you take offense, is the moment you lose trust. And to be fair, I mean, it's entirely possible, and this happened in my first marriage, where that trust was taken advantage of. It wasn't not in this way, but we all know the crazy women who can't ever give up the thing that think you're cheating. No matter how much you open your life, give them everything you have, and show them everything, they'll think you're cheating no matter what. And then you can do about that. But that's on you because you picked the bad partner. I mean that. Just like it's my fault that I picked my first wife. Oh, she was, and I didn't know, and all. No. There were red flags. There are always red flags, and you just ignore them. Every woman who has a sob story, there were. Oh, he said he'd take care of the children and do all this, and then he didn't do any of that. And I'm like, there were red flags, and you ignore them. There are always red flags, and you ignore them. It's rare. It's rare that you have a dude who's a Jeffrey Dahmer who can lie so well and keep his shit so together that he presents zero red flags. Especially over a long enough period of time. And you ignore them. And that's where the discernment comes in. That's where your accountability needs to come in. And that's the problem I think we have with a lot of both men and women today when they get out of relationships. It's always the other's fault instead of, no, it's both of our faults. Because even if the person did all the wrong things, I chose them. Therefore, my decision making was bad in choosing them because I either didn't see the red flags when I should have, or I ignored the red flags when they were there and brushed them off. Which is exactly what I did in my first marriage, is I saw the red flags and I brushed them off. And almost every red flag that I had with my wife has been rectified. Almost every red flag I had was rectified. Why? Because before we even got together, we sat down and planned out the rest of our fucking life. Do you want to have kids? Yes, we align on this. Do you want to have them soon? Yes, we align on this. Do you want to have more than one? Yes, we align on this. Do you want to be mutually exclusive in our relationship, i.e. no open marriages? And the answer was yes. I wanted to be open. She didn't. I loved her, so I gave it up. Simple as. And I told her that, and I said, I'm never going to, and I have never made her feel guilty about it, and I never will. I never will. I chose that. I did. I chose her. That's my call. To blame her is to do what Cain did, to blame God for his own shitty sacrifices. Okay? And because of that trust, there's never a day that I fear that my wife is cheating on me. I've had I got scarred early on with one of my first girlfriends was a serial cheater, and it was really bad. And the thing about it is it was my fault, not her fault. She was doing what she wanted to do. It was my fault for not taking better care of myself, for not recognizing that I was being taken advantage of, that I was allowing myself to being taken advantage of. And it was my fault in the end because I let her do it to me. I stayed with her while she did it. Just like one of my friends that I've recently had to let go, I realized there was something he was doing and I was allowing him to do it to me. And I can't allow that anymore. I'm not going to allow it. You can't allow it. And so my wife and I have a fully, completely trusting relationship because of that. And it boils down to, like I said, I am the tyrant of the house. If I am the dictator, what I say goes. The rules that I make, the feet that I put down, everything will go because I'm bigger, stronger, and I'm more violent. But I never, ever, ever use any of those things. And the thing about it is I think a lot of the reason that men who use those things do is because they're either too stupid or too lazy to think and make arguments, to be kind and considerate to their wife and realize that your wife is not stupid. She's a fucking person. Sit her down, make the arguments, run through all her emotional bullshit, and get her in problem-solving logic mode, and you can convince your wife of most anything that you think is true. Especially if she trusts you. And the best way to her to trust you is for you to be able to lift heavy things and kill things that would hurt her. It works. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how much it works that a woman will absolutely emotionally trust you if she knows you'll kill anything that touches her. Women find it very sexy. Doesn't matter how big you are. You could be the shortest king on the planet. But if women know that if another man touches you in an untoward way, that you would absolutely destroy them, body and soul. You can be short, yeah, totally. I mean, look at Wolverine. Right? He's like, what, 5'3", something like that? Are you gonna shit talk Logan? I ain't. So, yeah. Anyway, back to the whole thing. It's like it really does boil down to you need to set boundaries for your own life. Here's another thing as far as like young guys go. I should probably clip this. Is that there's a saying from a movie. If you build it, they will come. The best advice I can give to you as a young man, stop caring about getting women. Start caring about building something. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter how nerdy it is. Doesn't matter how stupid it is. I don't care if it's an application. I don't care if it's a fucking video game. I don't care what the fuck it is you want to build. Build something. Create something. Do something with your life. Because if you build it, they will come. If you build your life into something that a woman would want to have, then the women will come to you. So why do hot guys get chicks? Because the hot guys have something they want. Which is being hot. If, on the other hand, you're not hot, women aren't going to flock to you. So what do you do instead? Well, you got to build something. If you build something, then they will come. That is how it works. Look at the nerd shit. Oh, you remember when I was a kid, being a nerd, being a fucking video game player, playing fucking board games and shit was considered fucking stupid and bad and a waste of time and, all this other stupid shit. And the only thing that probably kept me from being bullied was the fact that I was the biggest fucking kid in class, and if you fucked with me, I'd kill you. Being a really big autistic retard, it helps. But if you're not, if you're a skinny little fucker, nerd, fucking science geek, fucking Warhammer geek, video games, like I was, except not big and handsome. Not to toot my own horn anymore, but, it's whatever it's what it is. If you're not that, it's going to suck for you. A lot. And so the only thing you're going to be able to do is build something. That's it. That's it. So if you make a lot of money, it's really easy to get chicks to fuck you because you got a lot of money. That's what I mean. If you build it, they will come. If you're rich, it's not hard to get women. If you have a lot of money and you can't get a woman, there's something wrong with you. There is something wrong with you. If you're making 250, 300K and you can't get a chick, there's something wrong with you. You need to fix your personality. You need to read Aristotle's Ethics. You need to read Jordan Peterson's books, 12 Rules for Life. And you might want to read a couple of Scott Adams books. How to fail at everything and still win big. That's a good one. Win Bigly. That's another good one. Teach you how to persuade and personality stuff. Because if you make a lot of money and you can't convince a woman to spend more than a fucking couple weeks with you before she fucking runs away, there is something wrong with you and you need to fix it. And it is you. It absolutely is you. Because there are women who will stay with dudes for all kinds of shit if they got money. Think about that. Think about that. There are plenty of women who will stay with cheaters if they got money. Hell, I know women who will stay with cheaters even when they don't have a lot of money. So if they ain't staying with you, there's something fucking wrong with you. And it ain't because you're ugly either. Ugliness ain't it. Are you fat? That might be it. Go lift some weights. That's what you need to do. You need to lift weights. I used to be a fat ass and I still got chicks. I wasn't like super big, right? But I was obese most of my life. I was overweight by the time I was in high school, and I was obese by the time I was out of high school. Or excuse me, by the time I was out of college. I lost a bunch of weight in college. Not as much as I have now. But I got like really strong, Army ROTC, and then, yeah, anyway. And I got kind of fat. And then I was still kind of overweight in the military, and then when I got out of the military, I became obese. I got up to 270 pounds at one point. The weight that is considered normal is max 190 at my height. Max 190. For most of my life, I was like 210, 220, most of my adult life, and I almost got up to 270. And I was still able to get chicks. As a fat ass. As an actual fat ass. At 270, I was still slinging my dick around. Okay? So, again, if you make money and you can't get a chick, there's something wrong with you. There just is. You need to get riz. You need to fucking work on your personality. You need to fucking be kinder. You need to be gentler. You need to understand that women need heroes, not stupid sons of bitches, okay? Women don't want to hear your fucking problems, dude. They don't. They don't want to hear about how hard your day was. They don't want to hear about how much it sucked, unless they ask specifically. What they want is for you to be a fucking man. When they say they want to hear about your emotions, what they really want is they want their emotional state reflected back at them. That's what they really want. They want you to talk to them like you care about them. That's what they want. For the most part. They want you to listen and shut the fuck up and respond when necessary. I swear to God, dude, when your woman wants to talk to you, let her dump on you. Don't say a fucking word. Ask pertinent questions. Be curious. And shut your fucking mouth. Keep saying in your head, my girl needs a hero. Listen to her problems and be like, she needs a hero. She doesn't need Mr. Fix-It. That's not what she needs. Is that what heroes do? Are heroes Mr. Fix-It? No, they're fucking not. Heroes don't fix all your problems. They only fix your worst problems. And so if your girl, she needs a hero. So what is a hero going to do in this situation? He's going to shut his fucking mouth and he's going to listen intently and he's going to nod like he knows what the fuck she's talking about and he's going to ask nice, pertinent, or self-reinforcing questions. And if you do this, you will make your woman feel like she's on top of the fucking world and she will give you whatever you want. You won't even have to ask her for it. Do you know when the last time I really had to ask my wife for something like that I really wanted? It's been a while, dude. Or a long while. She could just tell. And then she does it. Because she loves me. And you can have that too. It's actually possible. But one of the other things you got to do and you got to watch out for is you got to fucking find you a good woman. And remember, if you pick wrong, that's your fault. In the end, no matter what happens in your life, it's your fault. It's always your fault. Because if it's not your fault, then you can't fix it. And if you say it's not your fault, then you're not going to be able to fix it. And if you can't work on fixing it, then you're going to be stuck in hell the rest of your life. And nobody wants that. And on that note, my friends, my fucking throat is killing me. I'm hungry as hell, and I haven't had a drink in forever. So I'm gonna go shuffle off this. I was gonna say mortal coil, but that's not what's happening. Be a Mr. Fix It when something in the house is falling apart. Exactly. So we're gonna call it there. And I will say one last thing about that. And that's the problem I had for the longest time with my wife, is that a lot of times she needed me just to listen to her vent about her problems, to give her emotional support, rather than offer her solutions to those problems while she's trying to explain it to me. So if you want to offer solutions, shut your mouth, wait 24 hours, and then offer the solutions and see how fucking receptive she is. I am such an autistic retard. It took me forever to figure that out. Years of being with the same woman to realize that when she's talking to me like that, shut my mouth. Literally, sometimes I'll do this. When I first started doing it, my wife was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm keeping my mouth shut." She's like, "What do you mean?" It's like, I keep wanting to talk, but I'm preventing myself from doing so because that's not what you need from me. The look in her eyes, something else. So my dudes, my bros, my homies, I hope whatever I've said today gives you some succor and help. Succor, whatever the fuck you want to say. And I will be catching you guys later. I don't know if we're going to be on tomorrow. My wife's got church, and I've got to watch Tommy, so she's not going to be till afternoon. So we still may tomorrow do a little bit of reading. We didn't get much reading done today because I was ranting, but hey, man, that's what the stream's all about. I had a great time, and I'm glad you guys were here. Thank you for being here. I very much appreciate it.
I absolutely love your faces. To hire and back.
So until next time, my dudes, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. I'll see you next time. Peace out, bros. Peace the fuck out.
They came with fire.